Chapter 521. Do you want to go and say hello? Zhu Hongshu asked. Yang Dingun shook his head and said, no need. Before we figure out their purpose, we shouldn't act rashly. Then, Yang Dingtian and Zhu Hongxue retreated into the cabin. When the little Princess Vulture saw the flag of the Divine Weapons Villa on the ship, she pursed her lips in disdain and continued to hold Wu Yoming's arm. She pointed at the little dolphin on the sea and smiled sweetly. A happy smile appeared on her delicate and beautiful face. Yang Dingtian also noticed that the little girl had always faked patting on her breasts. Now, she didn't do that and openly acted like a flat princess. Moreover, her hair was combed to look like a married young woman. Of course, she didn't look like a married young woman. She didn't look like a married woman from head to toe. Just like that, the two ships set off toward the Yingzhou continent with a distance of more than 10 miles. During this day and night, Zhu Hongxue didn't leave the cabin again. He had been cultivating and adjusting his breath. Almost a year ago, he was already a 9-star 9th-grade martial venerable. He was only half a step away from the master stage, but he still hadn't broken through. Meanwhile, Yang Dingtian had been drawing all sorts of blueprints. Another day and night passed. The Yingzhou continent was already in front of them. On the sea ahead, more than a dozen crystal magic warships of the Cloud Sky Pavilion were quickly surrounding the Vulture Palace and Yang Dingtian's warship. These crystal magic warships were extremely fast. Yang Dingtian visually estimated that their speed was more than twice that of the warship under Yang Dingtian's feet. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be speechless again. The crystal warship under Yang Dingtian's feet was about 1,000 tons. Of course, this was nothing in the modern navy of Earth. But if it was in the ancient times of China, it was obviously a huge warship. With crystals as energy, the warship's speed was more than 40 kilometers per hour. Even in the era of Earth, it was definitely not slow. And the crystal magic warship of the Cloud Sky Pavilion in front of them was no smaller than the warship under Yang Dingtian's feet. But its speed was more than twice as fast, reaching more than 100 kilometers per hour? How is this possible? Even in the modern era of Earth, the fastest missile speedboats could only reach about 50 knots, which was about 80 to 90 kilometers. On Earth, only motorboats could reach this speed, and the key point was that motorboats were very small in tonnage. The crystal warship in front of him weighed more than 1,000 tons. That was not all. What shocked Yang Dingtian the most was the crystalline devilish warship in front of him was extremely visually striking. The entire body of the ship was black, and it had a streamlined aesthetic. It didn't look bloated at all. Instead, it looked slender and sharp. Most importantly, almost every part of it that could be seen with the naked eye was made of a special metal. That's right, it was metal. It was not made of wood. Almost all the warships and ships in this world were made of wood. Furthermore, the quality of the wooden battleships in this world was far better than the wooden ones on Earth, because this world was filled with forests that were thousands of years old. However, no matter how good the wood was, it couldn't compare to metal. Especially when the metal in this world was extremely frightening. Of course, Yang Dingtian suspected that these crystal warships were not actually made of metal. Instead, they were wooden warships wrapped in a layer of metal. But when he got closer, Yang Dingtian realized that he was half right and half wrong. Yes, part of the warship was indeed made of wood, and another part was wrapped in a layer of metal. But there was still another part that was completely made of metal. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was amazed. The Cloud Sky Pavilion was indeed the overlord of the seas in this world. They had the best warship in the world. Yang Dingtian estimated that with 100 of these crystal warships, they could destroy 10 times the enemy's navy. Instantly, Yang Dingtian became even more passionate about the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Who are you? The officer on the crystal warship shouted. Wu Yuming walked out of the cabin with the little princess, Vulture. He bowed on the deck and said, Wu Yuming brings his wife, Vulture, to visit the master of the Cloud Sky Pavilion, Master Kai Lin. Instantly, everyone on the surface of the sea was shocked. Then, all the soldiers and officers on the crystal warships knelt down in unison. Greetings, young Master Wu Yuming. The officers of the Cloud Sky Pavilion bowed almost 90 degrees. They didn't dare to stand up for a long time. In fact, everyone's expression was filled with respect. Wu Yuming, the most powerful person in this world, the most honorable person in this world. Behind him stood the two most powerful forces, the only two half-saints. Even the nefarious crown prince Li Ming had to bow before him. Then, all the crystal warships of the Cloud Sky Pavilion immediately changed their formation. They surrounded Wu Yuming's ship in the middle. None of the warships faced him, because that would be disrespectful. There were a total of more than 10 warships. Almost all of them went to protect Wu Yuming's ship. The last warship went to Yang Dingtian's ship. Although the Divine Weapons Villa was considered impressive, it might not be in the eyes of the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Who is the Divine Weapons Villa? The officer on the crystal warship in front of them asked. Yang Dingtian of the Tiando League's Council of Light. Yang Dingtian said calmly. Instantly, there was another tremor on the surface of the sea. Then, all the officers and soldiers on the crystal warship in front of them bowed to him. They all held their breaths and bowed. What was going on today? Why were the two most important people in the world at the Cloud Sky Pavilion? In the past, Yang Dingtian might not be a big deal. But not long ago, Yang Dingtian had just destroyed Qin Chichi and Ning Wuming's allied army. With the help of Cloud Sky City, he destroyed hundreds of thousands of troops. Instantly, the world was shocked. However, wasn't Yang Dingtian the Lord of Cloud Sky City? Why was there another Council of Light? However, the ordinary officers of the Cloud Sky Pavilion didn't understand these things, so they didn't care. Dozens of miles away, Vulture was excitedly watching these powerful crystal warships when she suddenly heard Yang Dingtian's name. Suddenly, her delicate body trembled violently, and her beautiful face revealed an extremely complicated expression. A complicated and even awkward look quickly flashed through her beautiful eyes. At that moment, she grabbed Wu Yuming's arm tightly. She wasn't mentally prepared for Yang Dingtian's appearance at all. And Wu Yuming didn't reveal her surprise. She gently patted the back of her hand and said softly, "They are your sworn brothers. Let's go up and pay them a visit." "Okay," Wu Yuming said softly. "Big Brotherton." Vulture cheered as she rushed onto Yang Dingtian's ship. Then she suddenly rushed forward and hugged his neck. She said sweetly, "I missed you so much." And Wu Yuming, who was behind her, wasn't angry at all. She gently and lovingly looked at Vulture. Yang Dingtian lightly patted Vulture's back. Vulture let go of Yang Dingtian and walked in front of Zhu Hongxue. She said, "Hey, second brother, why are you still so arrogant and pretentious?" Zhu Hongxue was even worse at concealing his feelings than Yang Dingtian. He could only stiffly nod his head. At that time, Yang Dingtian returned to Cloud Sky City alone. Vulture didn't come back with him. Even though no one asked Yang Dingtian about this matter. However, everyone felt sad in their hearts. Especially Zhu Hongxue, who couldn't tolerate any sand in his eyes. He felt that Vulture's actions were a form of betrayal. "Why, only the two of you came? Did big sister Chunhua come? I missed her so much." Vulture held Yang Dingtian's hand and said. In the past, although Vulture was very clingy to Yang Dingtian, they rarely had physical contact. She often said that men and women shouldn't touch each other. She still had to marry, so why do you keep touching me? But now, she was even more intimate with Yang Dingtian physically. She didn't avoid physical contact at all. "Chunhua still has things to do at home." Yang Dingtian smiled. "She also misses you. What about you? Do you miss me?" Vulture asked coquettishly. "Of course I miss you. Even though I'm very busy, so busy that I don't have time to think. But in the end I still miss you." Yang Dingtian smiled. "At least you have a conscience." Vulture immediately rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian. Then, the two groups of people sailed towards the Cloud Sky Pavilion under the protection of more than 10 crystal demon warships. Vulture kept talking to Yang Dingtian and asked everyone in the Cloud Sky City. She kept acting coquettishly and kept hitting Yang Dingtian. It was as if she was the same as before. But there were two things that the two of them didn't talk about. First, their ships were more than 10 miles apart, but they sailed together for a day and a night. Little Princess Vulture came to the deck many times. Yang Dingtian must have seen her, But he didn't greet her and didn't come out to greet her. The little girl was such a smart person. She must have thought of this long ago, but she didn't mention it. Second, the two of them didn't talk about the purpose of coming to the Cloud Sky Pavilion. In the end, the topic of their conversation was all about the baby, Qin Huayu, and Song Liwa. It was always Yang Dingtian and Vulture talking. Wu Yuming and Zhu Hongxue didn't interrupt at all. They arrived at the Yingzhou southern continent where the Cloud Sky Pavilion was located. Although Yang Dingtian was already mentally prepared, he still exclaimed in shock. "Oh my God! This was really a miracle from the heavens. This was really a continent in the sky." The Qinghai Tibet Plateau was also a few thousand meters above sea level. But the terrain there was slowly rising. And the Yingzhou southern continent was very abrupt. It directly rose from the sea. The entire few thousand miles of land were all more than a few thousand meters above sea level. The entire Yingzhou southern continent was surrounded by 6,000 to 7,000 meters high mountains. The 3,000 to 4,000 miles of plateau in the middle was the territory of the Cloud Sky Pavilion. These huge mountains that stretched for thousands of miles became the highest walls of the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Most of the flying mounts in the world couldn't fly to this height. And of the large-scale air forces, only the Demon Eagle Army could enter the Cloud Sky Pavilion. After the warship docked, it was an extremely busy and huge dock. This dock was even bigger than the one in the Iron Furnace City. It was almost the same size as the dock in the Middle Continent. Behind the dock was a bustling city. This city was below the huge mountains and above the sea level. It was a land of normal altitude. This land was only a little more than 100 miles wide. All of the Cloud Sky Pavilion's transactions with the outside world were carried out in this city. Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming had yet to disembark, but the entire Nanning city was already under martial law. In almost 2 hours, the streets of the city were empty except for the Cloud Sky Pavilion's army. As soon as Yang Dingtian and Yang Dingtian got off the ship, a fully armed Cloud Sky Pavilion army came to greet Wu Yuming and Yang Dingtian with the highest etiquette. Cloud Sky Pavilion's Southern Continent City Lord, Mo Yenqing, greets young Lord Wu Yuming and Lord Yang Dingtian. A middle-aged man in a black brocade robe bowed to the two. Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming returned the bow. Then, City Lord Mo bowed to Vulture and Zhu Hongxue. As for Kuei Ning, he completely ignored him, as if he didn't see him. That's right, the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Shattering City had stopped fighting. Moreover, Earth-Shattering City's City Lord Kuei Ning and Cloud Sky Pavilion's City Lord Kai Lin had a very close relationship. On matters related to the Tiando League, the two of them had the same attitude. Even during the last Tiando League meeting, Master Kai Lin and Kuei Si were against the punishment of Yang Dingtian. However, after hundreds of years of war, the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Shattering City's lower, middle, and even upper echelons viewed each other with absolute hostility. "Please enter the city. I've already prepared a banquet to welcome the two of you," City Lord Mo said. "No need, I want to immediately pay Master Kai Lin a visit," Yang Dingtian said. Wu Yuming said, "Me too." City Lord Mo said, "That's a pity. I have endless respect for the two of you and wanted to listen to your teachings. It's my bad luck. I'll immediately prepare to send the two of you to Cloud Sky City." City Lord Mo didn't have it easy. He had to mention Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming's names whenever he spoke. He couldn't let anyone feel left out. Of course, he would always mention Wu Yuming's name in front of Yang Dingtian. Following that, the two groups of people under the protection of hundreds of fully armed cavalrymen began to climb the mountain. That's right, they were riding a special kind of highland mount, the silver-haired demon lion. That's right, it was a ferocious beast that looked like a mastiff and a lion. This was the Cloud Sky Pavilion's main cavalry force, the Demon Lion Army. The Demon Lion Army was the Cloud Sky Pavilion's second trump card. However, the Cloud Sky Pavilion was rarely attacked on land, so the Demon Lion Army rarely had a chance to fight. That was why they weren't very famous. These mountains, which were thousands of meters high, were extremely steep. Normal people would find it difficult to walk on them. However, the Demon Lion Army seemed to be walking on flat ground. Moreover, they were extremely fast. Even on the steepest mountain path, They were more than 100 miles away. Yang Dingtian noticed that this was definitely not the Demon Lion Army's fastest speed. Obviously, the combat power of this Demon Lion Army was not to be underestimated. Even though it was less than half the size of the Demon Dragon, and its strength was less than half of the Demon Dragon's. However, its speed wasn't any slower than the Demon Dragon Army. Moreover, it was more suitable for fighting in extremely complicated and steep environments. After just 2 hours, the Demon Lion Army brought Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming to the peak of the Cloud Sky Mountain Range. Below them was the Cloud Sky Pavilion's territory, which was surrounded by high mountains. The Cloud Sky Plateau spanned 3,000 miles. "You!" the Demon Lion Army shouted. Instantly, hundreds of demon lions roared down the mountain and charged towards the Cloud Sky City in the distance. The Cloud Sky Plateau spanned 3,000 miles. If converted to the size of Earth, it was more than 2 million square kilometers. It was almost the size of the entire Qinghai Tibet Plateau. However, the total population of the Cloud Sky Pavilion's territory was less than 2 million. Moreover, nearly half of the population was in Nanning City. In the middle state, the 2 million square kilometers were crowded with tens of millions of people. The Cloud Sky Plateau was surrounded by the sea on 3 sides and was surrounded by high mountains. Throughout the year, the 4 seasons were like spring and the resources were abundant. It wasn't as desolate and barren as the Qinghai Tibet Plateau. However, it was a plateau after all. The overall terrain was complicated and lacked flat land. Therefore, most of the population gathered on the relatively flat land. As a result, there were less than 3 million people on the 2 million square kilometers of land. Most of it was a continuous mountain range. Galloping all the way. After 6 hours, they arrived at the Cloud Sky City in the center of the Cloud Sky Plateau, where the entire Cloud Sky Pavilion was located. The Cloud Sky City was built on the mountain. It was completely a city in the mountain range. This city didn't have any production. Everyone was a martial arts disciple. It didn't look like a city, but more like a sect. Moreover, Yang Dingtian discovered that the mountain where the Cloud Sky City was located was actually the highest mountain in the entire Cloud Sky Plateau. It was even taller than the surrounding mountain ranges. It was more than 10,000 meters above sea level. Moreover, it was the only snow mountain in the entire Cloud Sky Plateau. The chaotic world seemed to be different from Earth. Even the mountain ranges that were 6,000 to 7,000 meters above sea level didn't have snow mountains. And the peak of the heavenly mountain where the Cloud Sky City was located was covered in pure white snow. The Cloud Sky Pavilion was at the peak of the heavenly mountain. Therefore, it was called the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Yang Dingtian followed the demonic lion army down the mountain range from 6,000 to 7,000 meters. After running for nearly 1,000 miles, he began to climb the highest heavenly mountain. At the foot of the mountain, it was as warm as spring. In the mountain, the cold wind rustled and the peak was covered in white snow. Arriving at the peak of the heavenly mountain, everywhere was snow white. Here, there was only one color, and that was white. The Cloud Sky Pavilion built at the peak of the mountain was filled with eaves and pavilions. There were corridors everywhere. A total of a few thousand pavilions were built at the peak of the heavenly mountain that was 10,000 meters above sea level. It was really like a city in the sky. It was a true jade palace. No wonder it was called the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Entering the Cloud Sky Pavilion, immediately he saw a dense crowd of Cloud Sky Pavilion disciples. More than half of them were women and a small half were men. Every one of them was dressed in brocade robes and jade crowns. They looked confident and arrogant. Although the Cloud Sky Pavilion wasn't completely isolated from the world, they didn't interact much with the outside world. In the past 1,000 years, they hadn't been invaded by foreign enemies. Therefore, they were born with a kind of indifference and arrogance. They arrived in front of the Cloud Sky Pavilion's main hall. Yang Dingtian bowed and said, "Yang Dingnan is here to pay respects to the Cloud Sky Pavilion's master and Master Kalin." Wu Yuming followed suit and bowed. Wu Yuming is here to pay respects to the Cloud Sky Pavilion's master and Master Kalin. A moment later, Master Kalin's voice came from the main hall. "Why have the two of you come here?" Yang Dingtian said, "A few days ago, I established the Tiando League's Council of Light. I'm here to invite the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earthshatter City to join us. As soon as these words were spoken, the aura of everyone present changed dramatically. The others didn't know what was going on. However, Master Kalen knew very well. Yang Dingdun was standing at the center of another faction. Yang Dingtian continued. Qin Wanshou from the northwest Qin City, Song Shao from the World Society, Qiu Wanjie from the Divine Weapons Villa, Li Guinong from the Wooden Sword Fortress, and the Sky Phoenix Pavilion have all joined the Council of Light. The southwest, northwest, and north continents have all been unified. Billions of people and millions of soldiers will fight against evil ways in the entire western region. We will protect the justice of the world. Master Kalen was shocked again. Qin Wanshou, Song Shao, and Qiu Wanjie were the three most powerful people in the western region. They were all loyal to Yang Dingtian. How was this possible? Yang Dingtian continued. Black Heaven Sect's Zhu Qingzhu colluded with evil ways and started the middle ground strategy. The Council of Light will not sit by and watch as they try to destroy Earthshatter City and Cloud Sky Pavilion. Therefore, I'm here to invite Earthshatter City and Cloud Sky Pavilion to join the Council of Light. We will do everything we can to protect Earthshatter City and Cloud Sky Pavilion. The main hall fell into a short silence. After a while, Master Kalen's voice sounded again. Young Lord Wu Yuming, may I know why you're here? Wu Yuming smiled and said, I'm here for a private matter. Master Kalen smiled and said, what private matter? The fourth-generation grandson of the spiritual vulture sex Wu Lingzi and my wife's brother is the spiritual vulture's young master Lingzi. The day before yesterday, he met your junior sister Junu and fell in love with her. He specially requested me to propose marriage to Master Kai Lin, Wu Yuming said calmly. Yang Dingtian's expression changed and his body trembled. What was the meaning of that old thief, Wu Lingzi of the Vulture Palace? What was the meaning of this, Wu Yuming? Didn't they say that the Vulture Palace was neutral? Didn't they say that the Sea of Hades was neutral? Why did they want the Vulture Palace and Cloud Sky Pavilion to form a marriage alliance? Yang Dingtian immediately saw through the so-called proposal plot. The Vulture Palace and the Sea of Hades had formed a neutral alliance. Now, they wanted to pull the Cloud Sky Pavilion in as well. Once the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Vulture Palace formed a marriage alliance. What did that mean? It meant that the Cloud Sky Pavilion had entered an absolute neutral position. It meant that Zhu Qingzhu and the entire evil ways would not dare to attack the Cloud Sky Pavilion. It also meant that the Cloud Sky Pavilion could not join the Council of Light. It meant that Yang Dingtian could not obtain the Cloud Sky Pavilion's navy. It meant that Yang Dingtian could not defend against the invasion of Zhongzhou's millions of soldiers. It meant that some cities in the Western world would fall. Yang Dingtian wanted to stop a world war and prevent Zhongzhou's millions of soldiers from invading the Western world. His only support was the Cloud Sky Pavilion's navy. The Cloud Sky Pavilion's crystal warships were more powerful than Yang Dingtian had imagined. They could completely seal off all the seas from Zhongzhou to the Western world and destroy any ships on the sea. They were Yang Dingtian's greatest weapon to stop a world war. Now, Wu Yuming and the Vulture Palace were going to form a marriage alliance with the Cloud Sky Pavilion, making Yang Dingtian lose this weapon. How ruthless was this? How sinister was this? Yang Dingtian's eyes were like lightning as he looked at the vulture. Vulture? This matter? You knew? The vulture trembled and nodded. But I didn't know you would come. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and looked away, waiting for Master Kai Lin's reply. Zhu Qingzhu negotiated with Yang Dingtian. He agreed to tacitly accept the Council of Light's existence. The only condition was that Earth-Shattering City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion were not allowed to join the Council of Light. In other words, Yang Dingtian was not allowed to save Earth-Shattering City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. In order to save Earth-Shattering City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion, Yang Dingtian rejected Zhu Qingzhu. As a result, Zhu Qingzhu's anger and the millions of soldiers in the central prefecture were transferred to Yang Dingtian. Now, they were facing a situation where the Cloud Sky Pavilion, under the protection of Wu Yuming, had to retreat unscathed. In an instant, Yang Dingtian didn't even have the energy to be angry. He just waited quietly for Yun Kalen's reply. Servant June? What is going on? Yun Kalin asked indifferently. A charming female voice could be heard. Master, I met young Master Lingxi purely by chance. He saved my life. But the two of us are upright and have no feelings for each other. Hearing this voice, Yang Dingtian's face trembled. His entire body trembled. Even his heart trembled violently. Even though the voice had changed completely. But Yang Dingtian still felt an incomparably familiar scent. That's right, it was a scent. It was a unique intonation and rhythm, a unique charm. Dugu Fengwu? The birth mother of Yang Dingtian's son? Yang Dingtian couldn't help but pinch his thigh. Was this an illusion? How could Dugu Fengwu appear here? How could she become Yun Kalin's direct disciple, Yun Junu? Immediately after, he recalled what Dugu Shao said. Fengwu was in the central prefecture? Then, was the Cloud Sky Pavilion in the central prefecture? In terms of location, it was not. But in terms of territory, it was. Open the door and invite the guests in, Yun Kalin said indifferently. Yes, master, Yun Junu replied gently. Dugu Fengwu would never be so gentle. However, the way she spoke, the way she smelled, it was exactly the same. Creak. The doors of the main hall opened, revealing Yun Junu's face. Yang Dingtian instantly opened his eyes wide. Chapter 522. This was a face that was filled with haze, and it was even a face that was filled with contradictions. Most importantly, this face was very beautiful, and it was so beautiful that it was a little piercing. Watery peach blossom eyes, an exquisite nose, cherry lips that were as bright as fire, and an oval face that looked like a vixen. From this face alone, she looked more like a vixen than an enchanting one. However, her temperament was incomparably indifferent, as though she had no desire for anything. She was even more like a monk than Master Kalin. Her figure was just like her face, curvy and seductive. This contradictory temperament was simply too eye-catching. No matter where she went, she would be the center of attention. Of course, Yang Dingtian was most concerned about whether she was Dugu Fengwu or not. At this moment, he really had a misconception that she wasn't Dugu Fengwu. Not only was her face different, but her temperament was also different. Even her height was different. For a moment, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but doubt himself. Was he too sensitive? Just based on the so-called charm of her speech, he suspected that she was Dugu Fengwu? Seeing Yang Dingtian staring at her, Yun Junu didn't frown to express her disgust. Instead, she generously allowed Yang Dingtian to look at her. Her emotions weren't affected at all. However, this Yun Junu's dressing was rather similar to Dugu Fengwu. Her black hair was simply tied up with a hairpin. There was no makeup on her face at all, but her cheeks and lips were as beautiful as peaches and plums. Her dressing was extremely simple and even neutral. It was just a white long robe, which wasn't any different from a man's long robe. However, her curvy figure wasn't concealed at all. After entering the main hall, Yang Dingtian met the Sky Phoenix Pavilion mistress, Yun Kalin. This was the most simple and crude main hall that Yang Dingtian had ever seen. On the outside, it was grand and majestic. Inside, apart from the limestone floor, there was nothing else. Yun Kalin was sitting on a praying mat. She was wearing a coarse Taoist robe, and her hair was tied up with a dried branch. She was meditating with her eyes closed. Yun Kalin was already over 50 years old. People who practiced martial arts, especially those at her level, were the least likely to be able to tell a woman's age. Including his master's wife and Madame Shimin, they were in their 40s, but they all looked like they were in their 20s. The Yun Kalin in front of him seemed to be a woman who did not hide her age at all. Her face was beautiful and her skin was still white and tight. But for some reason, one could clearly feel that she was already quite old. That feeling of time, that withered loneliness. In fact, Yang Dingtian felt that Yun Junu and Yun Kalin's appearance were actually very similar. In the entire world, Yun Kalin was definitely the first person who was closest to becoming a great grandmaster. 15 years ago, she was already a 9th grade grandmaster. He had once been known as the youngest great grandmaster. 15 years ago, Shimin Wuya had just broken through to the supreme power realm. However, 15 years had passed, and she was still a 9-star 9th grade grandmaster. The Cloud Sky Pavilion was not a Taoist sect. In addition, although there were monks in the primal chaos continent, they were all people with little ambition and no desire. Therefore, there wasn't a single powerful sect of monks. Yun Kalin had never said that she was a monk, but she always wore a Taoist robe and was never married. Therefore, as time passed, everyone in the world treated her as a monk and called her Master Kalin. Yun Kalin looked at Yang Dingtian. City Lord Yang, you've subdued Qin Wanchou, Song Shao, and Qiu Wanjie? Yang Dingtian nodded. Amazing! Yun Kalin said, I can't imagine it at all. Then, Yun Kalin asked, after you unified the Western world, did Zhu Qingzhu negotiate with you? Yang Dingtian replied, yes. His final condition was to acknowledge the existence of the Council of Light. However, he asked me to ignore the life and death of the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Of course, I'm not that stupid. Once he destroys the earth-shattering city and the Sky Cloud Pavilion, he will do everything he can to destroy the Western region with the earth-shattering city's Demon Eagle Legion and the Sky Cloud Pavilion's fleet. So, your negotiations broke down? Yun Kalin said, Zhu Qingzhu transferred his anger to the Western world and ignored the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Cloud Sky Pavilion? At least on the surface, Yang Dingtian said. In order to defend against the invasion of Zhongzhou's Zhu Qingzhu, you placed your hopes on the Cloud Sky Pavilion's fleet. Yun Kalin said, as long as the Cloud Sky Pavilion joins the Council of Light, my fleet will be able to destroy all the ships on the sea and completely seal off the ocean from Zhongzhou to the Western world. Then, Zhu Qingzhu's millions of soldiers will be helpless. Yes, then the World War will not break out. Yang Dingtian said, otherwise, if the millions of soldiers in Zhongzhou cannot win the war, the East Continent will also be involved. The Evil Ways' army has yet to appear, and the Tiando League will already have a huge internal war. If that's the case, why did you come to the Central Tiando League? Why did you force Zhu Qingzhu to act against you? Yun Kalin asked. If I don't establish the Central Tiando League, I can only sit back and watch the Evil Ways completely encroach on the Tiando League. When the Demon King Wendian awakens, he will be able to conquer the world without any effort, Yang Dingtian said. Yun Kalin said, originally, I had no other choice. But now, it seems that young Master Wu Yuming has given me another choice, a choice that is completely safe and worry-free. Am I right? Yun Kalin looked at Wu Yuming. Wu Yuming said, I came to propose marriage on behalf of senior brother Lingxi. It was completely unintentional. We didn't know that City Lord Yang Dingtian would come. Our goal is very pure. It's purely because of senior brother Lingxi's love for junior sister Yun. There's no other meaning. Of course, once the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Spirit Vulture sect have formed a marriage alliance, then we have the responsibility to protect the Cloud Sky Pavilion from being harmed. We'll look for Green Lord Zhu and explain things clearly. I believe that Green Lord Zhu will not offend the Cloud Sky Pavilion again. Wu Yoming's tone was very calm, but the meaning behind it was very impressive. As long as Wu Yuming said the word, Zhu Qingzhu would not dare to have any improper thoughts about the Cloud Sky Pavilion. He wasn't bragging. Wu Yuming indeed had the strongest power in the world behind her. Yang Dingtian said straightforwardly, that's right. Then Master Kalin will have two choices. First, join the Council of Light. From then on, there will be no peace. There will be constant fighting and who knows how many people will die. Moreover, once Zhu Qingzhu realizes that the Western world can't be conquered and that his millions of soldiers can't cross the vast ocean, he will turn his attention back to the Fisher City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. At that time, the flames of war will spread to the Cloud Sky Plateau. Yang Dingtian continued, second, join the Vulture sect through marriage. From then on, you will have no worries and can watch the world rise and fall. Yun Kalin smiled faintly and said, I have to think about it carefully. Yang Dingtian continued, oh right, I also have a private matter that I would like to ask Master Kalin. Is it convenient? Wu Yuming immediately stood up and said, Master Kalin, I will take a tour of the Cloud Sky Pavilion. I will take my leave for now. Then, Wu Yuming left the main hall with the Vulture sect. Zhu Hongxue and Kuei-Ning followed them out. Yun Zhenu was also about to leave but was stopped by Yang Dingtian. He said, this matter has something to do with Miss Yun. Yoon Junu was slightly taken aback and stayed. What is it? Speak. Yoon Kalin said. May I ask if Miss Yoon has always been under Master Kalin? Yang Ding Tian asked. Yoon Kalin said, she just returned to the Cloud Sky Pavilion not long ago. Yang Ding Tian trembled. But why is that? Yang Ding Tian asked. Because she is the illegitimate daughter of Kue Si and I, Yoon Kalin said. Even though she was talking about such a secretive matter, she did not show any reaction. Yoon Junu was still sitting cross-legged at the side and looked calm. However, Yang Dingtian was shocked. Kue Si and Yoon Kalin's relationship had been rumored for decades. He did not expect them to really have an illegitimate daughter. It was no wonder that Yoon Junu looked similar to Yoon Kalin. Since she is your daughter, why didn't she stay in the Cloud Sky Pavilion? Yang Dingtian asked. Because the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Fisher City have a deep grudge. She could not stay in the Cloud Sky Pavilion or she would be harmed. Yoon Kalin said, so, after she was born, she was raised by an outsider, Mistress Mi Dai. Not long ago, Mistress Mi Dai traveled the world and went missing. Then, I brought my daughter back to the Cloud Sky Pavilion. Now, she is a Master Realm cultivator and no longer has to worry about being harmed. A Master Realm cultivator? Yang Dingtian could not help but look at Yoon Junu. Such a calm woman was actually a Master Realm cultivator. May I ask how old your daughter is? Yang Dingtian asked. 29 years old, Yoon Kalin said. Yang Dingtian was stunned again. He had thought that she was only about 20 years old. City Lord Yang, do you have any other questions? Yoon Kalin asked. Yang Dingtian hesitated for a while and shook his head. Not at the moment. Yoon Kalin said, all right, please give me a day to think about it. I will give you an answer before daybreak tomorrow. Yang Dingtian said. Yoon Kalin said, Junu, prepare a room for the guest. Yoon Junu said. Then, she stood up and said to Yang Ding, guest, please follow me. Yoon Junu led Yang Dingtian to a pavilion halfway up the mountain. This place was no longer covered in snow. Instead, there were green trees, red flowers, and fruits. The house was quiet and comfortable. It was luxurious and elegant. From here, one could see thousands of miles of highlands. City Lord Yang, Yoon Junu said, if you need anything, you can call the servants outside the manor. Thank you, Miss Yoon, Yang Dingtian said. No need. Yoon Junu said, then I will take my leave. Hold on, Yang Dinghan said. I have a few questions and a few words that I would like to speak with Miss Yoon. Yoon Junu was slightly stunned. Then she nodded. Yang Dinghan sat down and said, please take a seat too. Sitting down meant that they would have a long talk. Yoon Junu bent over slightly and let her beautiful body sit on the chair. Is there a scar on young Lady Yun's chest? Yang Dingtian inquired. This question of his was considered very rude. There was a scar on Dugu Fengwu's chest. It was pierced by Yang Dingtian's sword. However, when Yoon Junu was asked this question, she didn't get angry. Instead, she was slightly surprised and said, there is. How did City Lord Yang know? Was it hurt by a sword? Yang Dingtian asked. 5 years ago, she was hurt by a sword. I don't know why. Even after using all kinds of medicine, the scar didn't go away, Yoon Junu said. Yang Dingtian was instantly excited. How could it be so coincidental that she also had a scar on her chest? Is it here? Yang Dingtian pointed at his chest. It was 2 inches above the left side of his heart. Yoon Junu said with surprise, it is indeed there. Yang Dinghan almost wanted to say, let me take a look. However, he wasn't sure if she was Dugu Fengwu. Of course, he couldn't act rashly. Has Miss Yoon been under Mi Di Nun for the past 20 years? Yang Dingtian asked. That's right. I have always been here. I would occasionally come out and live in seclusion, Yoon Junu said. I have a question that might be very offensive. Before I ask, I want you to not mind it, Yang Dinghan asked. Please speak, Yoon Junu asked. Miss Junu, are you still a virgin? Yang Dingtian asked. At this moment, the indifferent Yoon Junu couldn't help but blush. Her beautiful eyes turned cold as she said coldly, City Lord Yang, are you teasing me? Finishing her statement, her body surged with faint killing intent. Yang Dingun said, Miss Yun, please don't be angry. Before I answer your question, can I tell you a story? Yun Jun said, alright. However, if your story can't make me feel better, I won't be polite. My sword will kill. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, I once had a wife called Dugu Fengwu. She was the daughter of the Temple of 10,000 Bloods temple master, Dugu Shao. She and I once gave birth to a child. After the Temple of Annihilation descended, Dugu Fengwu disappeared completely. She turned into another woman and appeared in this world with a different face. Yun Junu's beautiful eyes contracted slightly. Yang Dingtian said, Miss Yun Junu, be it the temperament, looks, or even the height, they are completely different from Dugu Fengwu. Even your voice is different. However, the rhythm, charm, and rhythm of your speech are exactly the same. Yun Junu said, therefore, you suspect that I am that wife of yours, Dugu Fengwu? Yang Dingtian said, however, you weren't in the Sky Phoenix Pavilion all this while. Furthermore, there is a sword-shaped scar on your chest. Yun Junu's beautiful eyes stared closely at Yang Dingtian and said, I forgive your previous offense because I know that your story is true, even though there are many things that you didn't say. Many thanks. Yang Dingtian said. Yun Junu said, firstly, I am a virgin. Finishing her statement, Yun Junu pulled up her sleeves and revealed her snow-white arm. On it, there was a red and glistening cinnabar mole. Yun Junu said, if you still can't let go of this mole, I can ask you to find a woman to check my body to see if I am a virgin. Yang Dingun blushed and said, there is no need for that. Yun Junu continued, I understand your longing for your wife very well. Furthermore, I am very happy that you can have the same tone and rhythm as her. However, I am not your wife. Since young, I have been living beside Mistress Mi Da and have never left. Yang Dingtian was speechless. Lastly, Yun Junu stood up and said, I feel that you have brought back painful memories for that woman. If she can become a completely different person, it might be a form of release. I feel that you should free her and give her freedom back. Yang Dingtian was stunned and then asked, Miss Yun, what do you think of young Master Lingxi from the Vulture sect? Yun Junu said, I grew up under Mistress Mi Da. Young Master Lingxi is the first man that I met. I have a good impression of him. He is a pure person. Yang Dingun asked, are you willing to marry him? Yun Junu said, I have been indifferent since young and have no feelings for relationships. I will follow my mother's decision to marry Lingxi. If she thinks that marrying him will bring safety to the Sky Cloud Pavilion, I am willing. Yang Dingtian asked, what do you think of justice, evil, the Tiando League, and evil ways? I have no feelings at all. Yun Junu said indifferently, it has only been a few months since I came out from my seclusion. I understand. Thank you, miss. Yang Dingtian said. Goodbye. Yun Junu left. Yang Dingtian looked at her graceful back view as she left. Even though her height was different. However, when she walked, the curves of her graceful back were very similar to Dugu Fengwu's. I don't care if you are Dugu Fengwu or not. I will not allow you to marry Vulture Sex Lingxi. For this, I will do anything. Yang Dingtian said in his heart that at night, Yang Dingtian was preparing to ascend the mountain peak again to ask Yun Kalin's final decision. He couldn't wait until daybreak and allow Yun Kalin to make a decision. He had to take the initiative. In the darkness of the night, Yang Dingtian went up the mountain. Soon enough, he arrived at the snow-covered land. Yang Dingtian didn't know where Yun Junu had arranged for Wu Yuming and Dugu Fengwu to stay. However, they didn't stay together with Yang Dingtian. It was as though they were at the top of the mountain and not the middle of the mountain. From this, would he be able to see Yun Junu's preference? Yang Dingtian continued to move stealthily. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice in the snow-covered land in front. It was little Princess Vulture. She stood on the snow-covered land and muttered to herself, Do you want to go? Do you want to see Big Brother Tian? After that, she kept hesitating and struggling. She walked down for a while and walked back for a while. Go, I must go and see him. I must tell him what I am thinking. I must tell him the secret. After finishing her sentence, Vulture made her decision and walked down the mountain towards Yang Dingtian's residence. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian was in a dilemma. Should he go to the top of the mountain to see Master Kalen or go to see Vulture? What was the secret she was talking about? At this moment, Yang Dingtian suddenly saw a white crane flying out from the top of the mountain. Yun Kalen was sitting on it. Was she going out? Where was she going? However, Yang Dingtian soon realized that she wasn't going out. She was just flying in the sky. It was as though she was having a hard time making a decision. Therefore, she simply flew in the sky and let go of all her thoughts. Now, he didn't have to make a choice. He should go back and see Vulture. He wanted to see what she was thinking and what secret she had to tell him. Then, Yang Dingtian continued to move stealthily and returned to his residence. Indeed, not long after, Vulture flew in through the window and threw herself into Yang Dingtian's arms. She hugged him and cried. Chapter 523. Big Brother Tin, are you angry with me? Vulture hugged Yang Dingtian and cried. Yang Dingtian stroked her back and did not answer her question directly. Vulture continued to cry. When we became sworn brothers, we promised that we would die on the same day, month, and year, even if we weren't born on the same day. That's why I wasn't there during the war. You must be angry. Yang Dingtian sighed softly. Actually, I don't really care whether you were there or not during the war. What I care about is whether your heart is still on our side, on the side of justice. Yes, it's definitely there. Vulture cried loudly. After the wedding, I wanted to sneak out and return to Cloud Sky City, but my great-grandfather imprisoned me. I didn't eat or drink and went on a hunger strike. Later, my husband opened the door and sent away the person who was watching over me. He said that my freedom shouldn't be restricted. Then he gave me two choices. Yes, Yang Dingtian said. The first choice was to send me back to Cloud Sky City and fight alongside you. Vulture said, the second choice was to follow him to the Tiando League conference and help you there. I felt that the latter would be more helpful to you. So, I made the second choice and followed him to the Tiando League conference. Yang Dingtian asked, and then? At the Tiando League conference, nothing seemed to have changed. I still became a sinner, Cloud Sky City was still expelled from the Tiando League, and millions of troops were still sent to suppress Cloud Sky City. But we saved you, the baby, Sister Chunhua, and everyone else's lives. Vulture said, at that time, my husband brought me to discuss with the higher-ups of the Tiando League. He confirmed that the Western region's matters would be handled by the Westerners. The people from Zhongzhou and the East Continent would not interfere, especially Zhu Qingzhu, who was not allowed to send experts to fight in Cloud Sky City. Also, even if Cloud Heaven City loses, we cannot harm you, Yang Dingtian, Qin Huayu, Zhu Hongxue, Song Chunhua, and your family. Vulture continued, we talked for a few days. Later, Zhu Qingzhu personally negotiated with us. During the negotiations, he said that he could not participate in the Battle of Cloud Sky City, but in exchange, no one from the Vulture Palace or the Sea of Hades could participate in the Battle of Cloud Sky City. I didn't return to Cloud Sky City because I didn't want Zhu Qingzhu to participate in the war. Yang Dingtian narrowed his eyes. He really wanted to laugh coldly and loudly refute the ridicule. However, Vulture used to be like his own sister. What kind of joke was this? The reason why Zhu Qingzhu didn't interfere in the battle at Cloud Heaven City was because Ning Wuming and Qin Chichi didn't allow him to. This was something that Crown Prince Li Ming and Zhu Qingzhu had agreed upon long ago. The western region would belong to the Ning clan of the South Sea, while the central region would belong to Zhu Qingzhu. It wasn't that Zhu Qingzhu didn't want to participate in the Battle of Cloud Sky City, but that he couldn't. Now that it was said, it was as if it was Wu Yoming's contribution. Moreover, the so-called protection of Song Chunhua, Qin Huayu, Zhu Hongxue, and Yang Dingtian's family was even more laughable. Evil ways didn't dare to kill Yang Dingtian in this world. Zhu Hongxue, as Zhu Qingzhu's son, had always followed Yang Dingtian. However, evil ways wouldn't kill him either. Similarly, because of Qin Wanchou, no one killed Qin Huayu. Now, it was all Wu Yoming's contribution? Yang Dingtian smiled slightly and said, if I remember correctly, Wu Yoming suggested that after I was defeated in the Tiando League, my martial arts would be crippled and I would be imprisoned forever? Vulture said, This was only what was said in public. We had already discussed it in private. After Cloud Sky City's defeat, you, Sister Yen Yen, and the others would all change. Then, we would choose an island in the Netherworld Sea for you to live on. You would be very safe there. Sister Yen Yen had also stayed in the Netherworld Sea before. Wu Yen Granny there loved her very much. Yang Dingtian's heart couldn't help but gradually sink. Then he smiled and said, "In your heart, we had no chance of winning the battle of Cloud Sky City, right?" Vulture was stunned and then stuttered. At that time, it seemed that your chances of winning were indeed very low. Yang Dingan said, "Girl, there are a few things. First, if Cloud Sky City was defeated, there would be no meaning for me to live. I have never taken my life seriously. Second, when we became sworn brothers, it wasn't because of feelings, but because of justice. Therefore, I am very grateful that you are running around for my safety, but this is not what I want." After weighing the pros and cons, Yang Dingtian said again, "Girl, I have always said that you are actually very smart. You are smarter than Zhu Hongxue. But because you are not very smart, Zhu Hongxue is very stubborn. He will not change his mind at any time and will always stand on the side of justice. You have no feelings for justice, and you have no feelings for Cloud Sky City. The only thing you care about is our lives. Therefore, I have also said that when the people you care about are righteous, you are righteous. When the people you care about are evil, you will become evil. I really want to change you. I really want you to become a righteous person from the bottom of your heart, but I have failed." Vulture raised her head and said, "I only care about my family. I only care about the people I care about and the people I love. Are they wrong? Do I, as a woman, have to place righteousness before family? Do I have to be righteous?" "No, you are not wrong. You are also a cute woman," Yang Dingtian said. "It is just that your heart is no longer on our side." "Who said that?" "I clearly love you. I love each and every one of you," Vulture said loudly. "No, maybe you didn't notice. Just now, when you were talking about Cloud Sky City, Song Chunhua, and the others, you used the word you and not we." Yang Dingtian said, "It was just a casual remark. You won't lie. You have already made a clear distinction between you and us." Vulture's face instantly turned pale. Then she shook her head desperately and said, "I did not. I love all of you. I care about all of you." Yang Dingtian said, "You are very smart, so you can think about it clearly. Zhu Qingzhu not participating in the Battle of Cloud Sky City, is it really related to Wu Yuming? Evil Ways not killing me, is it really related to Wu Yuming?" Vulture's beautiful eyes changed. She said, What do you mean? Do you think that we are lying to you? For those few days and nights, we talked non-stop. My husband was originally proud and aloof. Originally, everyone wanted to curry favor with him and was afraid of him. But for you, he had no choice but to lower his proud head. He lowered it again and promised others one thing after another. How can you say that about us? Yang Dingtian was suddenly stunned. Then he completely gave up all his thoughts. He smiled and said, "All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Does he treat you well?" "He treats me very well," Vulture said. "He promised you that he would wait for me to grow up before touching me. So, he has always been very polite to me. Also, he is very pure. He doesn't even dare to kiss me." "It's good that he treats you well," Yang Dingtian said. "All right, it's not early anymore. You should be worried. You should hurry back. Big Brother Team, although you are in big trouble this time, but I can still help you," Vulture said. "I will go and beg him. As long as he speaks, Zhu Qingzhu will definitely not dare to do anything to you." "Speak? Wu Yuming will speak?" "She will negotiate with Zhu Qingzhu and ask Yang Dingtian not to include the Sky Cloud Pavilion's earth-shattering city into the Council of Light. Then, Zhu Qingzhu will not crusade against the Western world." Did Wu Yuming even need to speak? Zhu Qingzhu had this condition in the first place. "No need." Yang Dingtian smiled. "You can go back." Vulture said seriously, "Big Brother Tian, no matter what you think of me in your heart, I will still help you." "All right." Yang Dingtian smiled. Then, Vulture left Yang Dingtian's embrace. She seemed to want to say something but hesitated. What else do you want to say? Yang Dingtian asked. There is something that I don't know if I should say? Vulture said. Say it. Yang Dingtian said. Vulture said, Big Brother Tian, that identity of the hidden sect master, if it is not necessary, you should not continue to pretend. It will be very dangerous. Yang Dingtian's eyes were like lightning. He said coldly, What do you mean? No, nothing. Vulture said, This is a secret that I want to tell you. I should not say it. However, I really do not want to see you walk down the cliff. In any case, don't pretend to be the hidden sect master anymore. It will be very dangerous. After saying that, the little princess Vulture hurriedly ran out. About half an hour later, Zhu Hongxue walked in and said, Little girl, what's wrong? Although Zhu Hongxue had always been cold to Vulture, he still cared about her. Yang Dingtian turned around and patted Zhu Hongxue's shoulder lightly. Second brother, forget about her for now. She's like a kind of aura. When filled with red light, she will turn red. When filled with white light, she will turn white. But no matter what, her terrible ending is already destined. Can't we save her? Zhu Hongxue asked. Are we able to save him? Yang Dingtian asked. A person's path of heart has to be walked by himself. Of course, maybe we will save her. At least we have to wait until she wakes up. Now, we have more important things to do. Cloud Sky Pavilion Master Yun Kalin still did not return. However, Yang Dingtian still went up the mountain. However, this time, he entered Yun Junu's room. Her room was also simple and crude. When Yang Dingtian entered, she was just sitting on the ground. Yun Junu did not get angry because of Yang Dingtian's intrusion. She only frowned and asked, What is it? I don't wish for young Lady Yun to marry Lingxi. Yang Dingtian said. Reason? Yun Junu said, Is it just because in your heart, I might be the incarnation of Dugu Fengwu? This is one of the reasons. Yang Dingtian said, and the most important reason is that I will not sit by and watch the Cloud Sky Pavilion be incorporated into the Vulture Palace's system. Why is that? Yang Dingtian said, You didn't have this thought a few hours ago. That is because a few hours ago, I still thought that the Vulture Palace was truly neutral. Yang Dingtian said, What if I marry him? Yun Junu asked. Yang Dingtian said, I will look for Dugu Shao to identify you. If you are not Dugu Fengwu, I might kill you. Even if I have to break off all ties with the Cloud Sky Pavilion. I understand, City Lord Yang Dingtian. Yun Junu nodded and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. Yang Dingtian still stood on the spot without moving. Yun Junu opened her eyes helplessly and said, I can only tell you that I will not fall in love with any man. Are you satisfied with this answer? You can leave now. Goodbye. Yang Dingtian said. Until dawn, Yun Kalin did not return. When the sun was about to rise, Yun Kalin rode on the white crane and flew back to the peak of the Heaven Mountain. 1 hour later, Yun Junu came to invite Yang Dingtian to the Cloud Sky Pavilion. 2 hours later, Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming entered the Grand Hall again. This time, the Vulture Palace did not follow them. Yun Kalin sat cross-legged in the center of the Grand Hall. His face was filled with deep fatigue. All right, it is time for the reply. Yun Kalin said indifferently. Then, Yun Kalin looked at Yun Junu and said, Little Nu, this matter concerns your marriage. I am your master and your mother. Before making a decision, I would like to hear your opinion. Yun Junu said indifferently, I will never marry. Yun Kalin said to Wu Yuming, Young Master Yuming, you have heard it. I cannot go against my daughter's wishes. Wu Yuming smiled gently and said, I understand. I will take my leave and return to the Vulture Palace. There is no need to rush. Yun Kalin said, You can leave after hearing what I have to say. Then, Yun Kalin looked at Yang Dingtian and said, After a night of consideration, I am very grateful that you are willing to bring the Cloud Sky Pavilion under the protection of the Council of Light. I am very grateful. Then, Yun Kalin bowed. You are welcome. This is what I should do. Yang Dingtian said. However, we do not wish to join the Council of Light. Yun Kalin said, I am very sorry, City Lord Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat, and he fell silent. Then, Yun Kalen turned to Wu Yuming and said, "Young Lord Yuming, please tell young Master Lingxi that I'm willing to become sworn siblings with him and become his confidant. Is that all right?" Wu Yuming bowed and said, "All right, I will pass the message. Then I will take my leave. Farewell, young Master Yuming." Yun Kalen prostrated himself. For the first time, he was extremely respectful. "I do not dare," Wu Yuming said and left. After Wu Yuming left, only Yun Junu, Yun Kalen, and Yang Dingtian were left in the hall. At this moment, Yang Dingtian did not care about his previous politeness. He suddenly stood up and said angrily, "Pavilion Master Yun, I need a reason. This is my choice." "I am sorry," Yun Kalen said. "No, you have to give me a reason," Yang Dingtian said coldly. "Otherwise, to prevent the Cloud Sky Pavilion from joining the evil ways, I will have to send the Demon Eagle Legion. I will have to send all your fleets to the bottom of the sea. I will even destroy the entire Cloud Sky Pavilion." "You dare?" Yun Kalen shouted angrily. Yang Dingtian's eyes were like lightning. He said sternly, "Yun Kalen, you have to give me a reason. It has to be a reason that can convince me. Otherwise, the Cloud Sky Pavilion will cease to exist in a few days." Subsequently, Yang Dingtian suddenly punched and smashed a pillar in the main hall into smithereens. "Yun Kalen, there is no such thing as a free lunch in this world." Yang Dingtian said coldly, "I was protecting the Cloud Sky Pavilion and the Earth-splitting city. That was why I was enraged by Zhu Qingzhu and the millions of soldiers. Now you are safe and sound, but you want to withdraw and watch from the sidelines. There is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. You have to give me a reason. Otherwise, I will destroy you immediately. You, Yun Kalen, don't have to live in this world. If you are Dugu Fengwu's servant, I will spare your life. If you are not, I will eliminate you completely." Yang Dingtian was instantly enraged. For the past few days, he had been appearing in front of Yun Kalen with the identity of a junior and the identity of the Cloud Sky City. He was humble and respectful. However, he had another identity. He was the ruler of the entire Western region. He had a territory of 30,000 miles, hundreds of millions of people, and millions of soldiers. Even on Earth, there had never been an empire that had such a huge territory. When the emperor was angry, millions of corpses would float. Yang Dingtian might not be the emperor, but he was not far off. Once he was completely enraged and wanted to destroy the Cloud Sky Pavilion, the Cloud Sky Pavilion would not be able to survive. This was because he had the Cloud Sky Pavilion's most deadly enemy, the Devil Eagle Army. Together with the countless bombs in the Devil Eagle Army, destroying the Cloud Sky Pavilion would be a piece of cake. It might be difficult for Zhu Qingzhu to destroy the Cloud Sky Pavilion, but it was not difficult for Yang Dingtian. Yun Kalen stared coldly at Yang Dingtian. Suddenly, she stood up and knelt in front of Yang Dingtian. Her entire body was on the ground. "Mother, don't do this." Yun Juna hurried forward and said. Then she looked coldly at Yang Dingtian. "Why do you have to do this? What right do you have to do this?" "Shut up," Yang Dingtian said coldly. He stared at Yun Kalen and said, "You have to give me a reason." Yun Kalen said, "Yesterday, Zhu Qingzhu sent an envoy to see me." "Continue," Yang Dingtian said. He said that once he decided on the strategy of attacking the Western region, he would not be distracted. If he could get 30,000 miles of the Western region, he could give up the few thousand miles of Ingzhou, Yun Kalen said. "So, you sold the entire Western region?" Yang Dingtian said coldly. "Do you think he would let the Cloud Sky Pavilion go if he really got the Western region? If that was all, I would not compromise. I would unite with the entire Western region and fight to the end," Yun Kalen said. "During the Tiando League conference, I could stand up against the sanctions against Cloud Sky City and against City Lord Yang. Today, I can stand up and fight to the end with them." "Continue," Yang Dingtian said. "Kuei Si is in their hands. Zhu Qingzhu said that if I joined the Council of Light, they would kill Kuei Si and send his head to me." Yun Kalen said sadly, "City Lord Yang, I am different from you. Although I am the leader of a sect, but I am only a woman. Kuei Si is my only love and the father of my daughter. I can't let him die. I am sorry, After saying that, Yun Kalin knelt on the ground and cried silently. I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry. Yang Dingtian heaved a long sigh and said, Do you think that Zhu Qingzhu will let you go if you compromise now? Yang Dingtian said, Also, do you think that by making Yun Junu and Lingxi brother and sister, you will be related to the Vulture sect and be protected by the Vulture sect? You will be able to rest easy, right? Yun Kalin silently agreed. Also, Kuei Si is in the hands of the enemy. You think that Fisher City is finished. But you only care about Kuei Si and don't care about the destruction of Fisher City, right? Yang Dingtian asked. Yun Kalin silently agreed. That means that as long as the Cloud Sky Pavilion is safe, you can ignore the fall of the entire western region and the destruction of Fisher City, right? Yang Dingtian asked, You have entrusted the safety of the Cloud Sky Pavilion to the Vulture Palace and Wu Yoming's pity, right? Yun Kalin continued to agree. Yang Dingtian said, I wanted to say that I will think of a way to save City Lord Kuei Si and then you can make the decision. Now it seems that there is no need. Take care. Goodbye, Yang Dingtian said. Then he left. This time, he did not follow the rules and ride the demonic lion down the mountain. Instead, he flew into the sky and flew towards the sea. In the main hall, Yun Kalin was still sobbing. Her eyes were filled with guilt. Mother, please get up. Yun Junu helped Kalin up. Yun Kalin hugged Yun Junu and cried, Perhaps we women are not suitable to be the leader of a sect. At the crucial moment, we will only compromise and beg for peace. Yun Junu said, Mother, I don't think you did anything wrong. Living in this world, one should be cautious. Being alone is the best choice. Zhu Hongxue saw Yang Dingtian fly up and took Kuei Ning with him. They flew into the sky and chased after Yang Dingtian. The three of them landed on the warship at sea. How is it? Zhu Hongxue asked. We are going to fight against the millions of soldiers from Zhongzhou alone. Yang Dingtian said calmly, The Cloud Sky Pavilion chose Wu Yoming's pity and protection. They chose to draw a clear line with us. How could she do that? Kuei Ning said in disbelief, We were just trying to protect the Cloud Sky Pavilion. That's why we were attacked by Zhu Qingzhu's millions of soldiers. There is no such thing as reason in this world, Yang Dingtian said calmly. All right, let's get on the flying demonic eagle and return to Cloud Sky City at full speed. Kuei Ning said, But the Cloud Sky Pavilion's rules forbid the demonic eagle from appearing in their airspace. The Cloud Sky Pavilion has lost its backbone, so there are no rules, Yang Dingtian said. Then the three of them got on the demonic eagle and soared into the sky. As expected, the soldiers of the Cloud Sky Pavilion on the ground were furious, but no one came to stop them. At this moment, two snow-white cranes flew out from the Cloud Sky Plateau. They were Wu Yuming and Vulture. Big Brother Tian, wait for me. Vulture shouted. Kuei Ning looked at Yang Dingtian. Full speed ahead. Yang Dingtian ignored it. Vulture chased after him with all its might. Big Brother Tian, no matter what you think of me, my husband and I will help you. The speed of the demonic eagle was not something the white crane could compare to. It instantly left Wu Yuming and Vulture in the dust. Zhu Hongxue said with a worried expression, Sect Master, what should we do next? Yang Dingtian was filled with fighting spirit. It's better to rely on ourselves than to rely on others. Since the Cloud Sky Pavilion has abandoned us, we can't count on their navy. Then we will create our own secret navy. We will go back and create our secret naval weapon. Yang Dingtian looked at the vast sea below. His gaze was fiery and intense as he said, Zhu Hongxue, Kuei Ning. Believe me, since I can lead you to destroy Qin Chichi's army of a few 100,000. I can lead you to destroy Zhu Qingzhu's army of a few million. I swear to you, I swear to the whole world. I will bury Zhu Qingzhu and his army of a few million at the bottom of the sea. I will not lose a single inch of land in the Western world. I will not let a single soldier from the central continent set foot in the Western world. I will lead you to a victory even more glorious than the Battle of Cloud Sky City. Then Yang Dingtian shouted, Do you believe me? Yes, Zhu Hongxue shouted. He had always been cold and indifferent. He had never been so hot-blooded. Will you follow me? Yang Dingtian continued to shout. Die for sect master. Zhu Hongxue and Kuei Ning shouted in unison. Then, the three of them flew towards the northwest continent at full speed. Yang Dingtian's body was burning hot. He was filled with the will to fight and the will to win. He touched the countless blueprints in his interspatial ring. That's right, it's better to rely on oneself than others. Since the Cloud Sky Pavilion had betrayed and abandoned him, then he would do it himself. He would do it himself. He would use his extraordinary knowledge and experience to bury Zhu Qingzhu's army of a few million. Then he would lead the entire Western world to an even more glorious victory. Next, he had to do two things. He had to devote himself to the research and creation of a new secret weapon. The second thing was to impregnate Wu Maji and save Kuei Si. Chapter 524. Even though the earth-splitting city was not far away, Yang Dingtian and the other two still chose to fly past it without stopping. Sect leader, do you want me to announce that the earth-splitting city has joined the Council of Light in the name of my father? Kuei Ning asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, no need. The betrayal of the Cloud Sky Pavilion has caused the earth-splitting city to be in danger. Now that it has joined the Council of Light, it will not be of any use to the earth-splitting city. Instead, it will force Zhu Qingzhu to attack and bring more danger to the earth-splitting city. Then, the three of them looked at the northern continent of Yingzhou and sighed. They continued to fly towards the Cloud Sky City. Suddenly, a black shadow drilled out from the seawater below. It was a demon eagle knight. She blocked Yang Dingtian and the others' path. Her entire body was covered in purple armor, indicating her identity. She was the Grand Commander of the earth-splitting city, Kuei Qing. Yang Dingtian took off her helmet. Even though he was mentally prepared, he was still shocked by her cold, mature, and aggressive face. City Lord Yang Dingtian, are you going to abandon my earth-splitting city after having sex with me? Why did you make a trip here and leave directly without even entering the door? Kuei Qing said. This woman's words were as aggressive as her beauty. I wouldn't dare. It's just that there are no benefits to dragging the earth-splitting city into this. Why don't we let Zhu Qingzhu forget about the earth-splitting city for now? It'll be safer. Yang Dingtian said. That woman, Yun Kailin, rejected you? Kuei Qing asked. Yes. Yang Dingtian said. Kuei Qing said, a woman in charge is indeed disappointing. If she had the courage, the earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion would have attacked and defended one another. Why would she and Kuei Si have to go in and out together? The earth-splitting city and the Cloud Sky Pavilion are enemies and hate each other. When Kuei Qing said this, she seemed to have forgotten that she was also a woman. All right, since City Lord Yang is here, why don't you come to my earth-splitting city for a visit? Kuei Qing said. If I go, Zhu Qingzhu will remember you guys. That's not a good thing, Yang Dingtian said. He's already thinking about it. Kuei Qing said, yesterday, Zhu Qingzhu's envoy came to propose marriage for his son, Zhu Hongyu. Marry who? Kuei Ning finally couldn't help but ask. Marry me, Kuei Qing said. Kuei Ning was stunned. Kuei Qing was 10 years older than Zhu Hongyu, and in Kuei Ning's heart, this aunt of hers was a tigress as cold as ice. Then did you refuse? Kuei Ning was concerned about this. I didn't say no. Kuei Qing said, in order to prevent the Elders' Council from letting their imaginations run wild, in order to completely put an end to their path of surrender, I directly slaughtered that envoy and then sent the head back. Therefore, City Lord Yang Dingtian, you were worried that Zhu Qingzhu would set his sights on us. Now, he has already set his sights on us. That emissary is actually an illegitimate son of Zhu Qingzhu. Then, the three of them were collectively stunned. This Kuei Qing was really decisive in killing. The envoy sent by Zhu Qingzhu was killed just like that, completely forcing the entire Earthshatter city, without any room for compromise. Of course, I didn't know that he was Zhu Qingzhu's illegitimate son at first. I originally only planned to teach him a lesson, but in the end, his gaze was too wretched, and I couldn't help but want to kill him. He was afraid of death, so he revealed his identity as an illegitimate son. However, I had no choice but to release the arrow on the bow, so I still chopped off his head. Kuei Qing said, however, chopping off his head also received a miraculous effect. A bunch of elders who originally planned to surrender no longer have any hope now, and are currently trembling at home, hugging each other for warmth. Therefore, Lord Yang Dingen, make a trip to Earthshatter City, and help us get some warmth, Kuei Qing said. Yang Dingtian said. Then, the three of them flew together with Kuei Qing towards Earthshatter City. The last time Yang Dingtian came to Earthshatter City, he received an absolute cold reception. No one paid attention to him at all. But this time, Yang Dingtian received unprecedented respect. The entire Earthshatter City seemed to have turned out in full force. First, the entire Demon Vulture army was pulled out from the sky and lined up in formation, escorting Yang Dingtian into Earthshatter City. After entering Earthshatter City, countless people waved their colorful flags and cheered in joy. When they arrived at the Earthshatter City Lord's castle, all the members of the Elder Assembly came out to welcome them. This group of 70 to 80 years old elders couldn't wait to kneel down and greet them. It was obvious that they were really frightened. They were afraid that one day, Zhu Qingzhu's army of 1,000,000 would sweep over them. Therefore, Yang Dingtian, who had defeated the army of evil ways, directly became their life-saving straw. In the square in front of Earthshatter City's castle, Yang Dingtian gave a short speech, and the main content of the speech were as follows. First, he praised Earthshatter City's bright and righteous stance. Second, the Council of Light would protect Earthshatter City, and the level of protection would be the same as Cloud Sky Cities. Third, the Council of Light would completely eliminate all the evil forces in Zhongzhou and bring peace to Zhongzhou. After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, what greeted him was a tsunami of cheers. Basically, all the people of Earthshatter City only heard one sentence. The level of protection of Earthshatter City by the Council of Light was exactly the same as Cloud Sky Cities. In other words, not only did the Council of Light not abandon Earthshatter City, but they would also use all their strength to protect it. Then, in the castle's main hall, Yang Dingtian and the Elder Assembly of Earthshatter City had a detailed discussion. The Elder Assembly of Earthshatter City was not as easy to fool as the people. He directly asked how many troops sect leader Yang Dingtian intended to send to protect Earthshatter City. Then, the Elder Assembly vaguely suggested that 1,000 Demon Vulture army should be transferred back to Earthshatter City. Yang Dingtian couldn't directly reject them, but of course, he couldn't agree with them either. First, the Northwest continent is 6,000 miles away from Earthshatter City. Yang Dingtian said, for ordinary troops, the West Continent and Earthshatter City will be two battlefields. But for the Demon Vulture army, 6,000 miles is just half a day. Therefore, the Northwest Continent and Earthshatter City can be regarded as one battlefield. Therefore, all of the Demon Vulture army will protect Earthshatter City and the entire West Continent. Yang Dingtian said, and from today onwards, it is necessary to establish a smooth air route between the Northwest Continent and Earthshatter City to transmit information and materials at all times. At all times, there must be Demon Vulture army shuttling between Earthshatter City and the West Continent. When these words were spoken, the Elder Assembly of Earthshatter City was instantly relieved. This feeling was very subtle. Earthshatter City was all alone now, and they felt very insecure. But when Yang Dingtian proposed to establish an air route to connect the entire West Continent to Earthshatter City, they felt that they were no longer alone. Yang Dingtian continued, also, I will establish a wartime committee. I hope that the elders of Earthshatter City will send people to the Northwest Continent to enter the committee's headquarters and participate in the decision-making of the entire war. And the Council of Light will continuously send people to Earthshatter City to participate in the defense of Earthshatter City. When these words were spoken, the Elder Assembly of Earthshatter City felt more relieved. Of course, their emotions were incomparably complicated. Previously, their mentality of surrendering was even heavier than that of the Cloud Sky Pavilion. They couldn't wait to directly surrender to Zhu Qingzhu and then throw all the flames of war to Yang Dingtian and the West Continent. They even took drastic measures and transferred the Demon Vulture army back. But Great Aunt Kuei Qing's sword cut off all their hopes of surrendering. She had chopped off the head of Zhu Qingzhu's illegitimate son. The door to surrendering was directly closed. Now, Earth-Shatter City depended on Yang Dingtian to save their lives. Finally, Yang Dingtian said, "As for how many troops Earth-Shatter City needs, there is no limit. I can only say that if the war happens in Earth-Shatter City, there is no limit. Then, there will be as many as you need. 100,000, 300,000, 500,000, 1 million? There is no limit." Instantly, the elder assembly of Earth-Shatter City stood up excitedly and bowed to Yang Dingtian. "Thank you, City Lord Yang Dingtian, for your great kindness." Yang Dingtian continued, "Not only that, when I return to Cloud Sky City this time, I will immediately transfer 5,000 cannons to set up Earth-Shatter City's defense line." Instantly, the elder assembly was in an uproar. Even Kuei Ning looked at Yang Dingtian with an inconceivable gaze. As for Kuei Qing, her beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. The rumors about the cannons had already spread all over the world. Yang Dingtian's secret weapon had instantly subverted the entire world's concept. In the Battle of Cloud Sky City, he had used 2,000 cannons to wipe out Qin Chichi's army of hundreds of thousands. In the hearts of countless people, this was Yang Dingtian's fatal weapon. Regarding his power, it had also been spread by word of mouth. Who knew how many times it had been magnified? Earth-Shatter City did not even dare to mention the cannons because they felt that this was Yang Dingtian's secret weapon and it was impossible for him to give it away. Who knew that Yang Dingtian would be so generous and directly give them 5,000 cannons? These 5,000 cannons will be set up at all the places where Earth-Shatter City can land. It will be enough to prevent any army from landing. Yang Dingtian said, "Earth-Shatter City's coastline is not like the western part of the world. It can only be landed for a few hundred miles. 5,000 cannons will be enough to cover it." In the end, Yang Dingtian waved his fist and said, 5,000 cannons and 2,000 Demon Eagle army will be enough to prevent any army from landing. Earth-Shatter City will be completely safe." Instantly, the elders of Earth-Shatter City felt their blood boil. Yang Dingtian said, "Because of the Cloud Sky Pavilion's betrayal, Earth-Shatter City has to be very careful of attacks from the Cloud Sky Pavilion." The great elder of Earth-Shatter City said, "You don't have to worry about that. The mountain range there is too high, at least a few thousand feet. Their winged cavalry army can't fly over such a high mountain." Yang Dingtian said, "What if they attack from the ground? I've seen their demon lion army. It's incomparably steep, but it's like walking on flat ground. Earth-Shatter City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion are completely connected, and the mountain range between them is at least 1,000 miles. It's impossible to guard against it. Once a few thousand demon masters enter Earth-Shatter City, even if it's an underground city, it'll be like walking on flat ground." Once this was said, everyone's expression changed. Yang Dingtian said, "You don't have to worry. I already have close to 8,000 strong Demon Dragon army in my hands. I can send a Demon Dragon army equipped with the sharpest small-sized crystal crossbows to defend the mountain range between Earth-Shatter City and the Cloud Sky Pavilion. It'll definitely be able to wipe out all the enemies from the Cloud Sky Pavilion." Instantly, the elders of Earth-Shatter City burst into tears. They were extremely emotional. Immediately, the Grand Elder held onto Yang Dingtian's hand with tears streaming down his face. He sobbed and said, "I have never seen or heard of such a righteous and magnanimous person like Sect Master Yang." Thinking back to the time when Yang Dingtian came to Earth-Shatter City to ask for help, the elders of Earth-Shatter City were so cold. The elders of Earth-Shatter City felt even more guilty. After the meeting with the elders of Earth-Shatter City ended, Kuei Qing looked at Yang Dingtian and bowed. "Sect Leader Yang, Kuei Qing has some matters that she would like to discuss in private. I wonder if it's convenient?" However, without waiting for Yang Dingtian's reply, she walked into her own room. It didn't seem right for a man and a woman to be alone together, but Yang Dingtian had no room to refuse. "Yang Ding, you're crazy?" Kuei Qing said, "I know that you're determined to protect Earth-Shatter City, but you don't need so much. You're a commander, you have to consider the bigger picture. You know that Earth-Shatter City won't be the main battlefield. In fact, Earth-Shatter City might not even be the main battlefield. I have to make these people feel at ease." Yang Dingtian said, Otherwise, if some of them decide to surrender, it'll be troublesome. Then you don't have to send so many resources to Earthshatter City. Kuei Qing said, you have to know that the main battlefield will be in the Western world. I'm doing this to prevent Earthshatter City from becoming the main battlefield. I want Zhu Qingzhu to give up on attacking Earthshatter City. Yang Dingtian said, 5,000 cannons? Are you crazy? Kuei Qing said, most of these cannons are fake. They're just models. Yang Dingtian said, they're just for Zhu Qingzhu to see. When Zhu Qingzhu sees so many cannons in the narrow straits of Earthshatter City, he'll give up on attacking Earthshatter City. This way, I can focus on preparing for the next battlefield. Kuei Qing said, fake? Won't Zhu Qingzhu find out? Yang Dingtian said, real cannons require extremely expensive and rare black gold cold iron. They also need to be calcined with Xian flame. That's why the cannons can shoot very far. The 5,000 cannons that I've prepared for you are made of ordinary steel. After firing a few dozen cannons, they'll be useless. Moreover, the range isn't very far, so the accuracy won't be good. Yang Dingtian continued, however, after the cannons arrive, a military drill will be carried out. A few hundred wooden warships will be produced to demonstrate the landing battle. Then, a few thousand cannons will be fired and the warships will be completely destroyed. They'll be buried at the bottom of the sea. This way, no one will think that it's fake. Kuei Qing's beautiful eyes stared intently at Yang Dingtian. After a long time, she said, Sect Master Yang, your honorable and noble image in my heart has been destroyed. Yang Dingtian was instantly speechless. Yang Dingtian and the other two didn't stay in Earthshatter City for long. After a few hours, they left. At this time, Kuei Si's wife and Kuei Qing were talking. Little Qing, what do you think of this Sect Master Yang? Madame Kuei asked. What do you mean? Kuei Qing said. Madame Kuei said, we women are women after all. We need to find someone to rely on. You don't like this man, and you don't like that either. You're already in your 30s, but you're still alone. It's not a good thing. Kuei Qing said, heavens? Don't tell me you want me to be Yang Dingtian's concubine? I'm older than him by more than 10 years. Madame Kuei said, as long as the man dotes on you, it's okay to be a concubine. If no one dotes on you, so what if you're the official wife? How I'm doing, don't you know? That's because my brother is stupid. Yun Kalin, that woman, is weak and pretentious. A few years ago, she still looked pretty. Now she's old and dry. She's far inferior compared to sister-in-law, Kuei Qing said. Sigh. Madame Kuei said gently, Little Qing, regarding your brother, what did Sect Master Yang say? He didn't say anything, Kuei Qing said. He's been missing until now. No one knows if he's alive or dead. What should we do? Madame Kuei's tears fell as she said, although he's a bastard, but he's also my husband. Why didn't you mention to Sect Master Yang? Sister-in-law, there's no need to mention it, Kuei Qing said, this matter is very big. Sect Master Yang already has a plan in his heart. There's no need for us to mention it. Really? Madame Kuei said. Really? Kuei Qing said. Madame Kuei wiped away her tears and said gently, Little Qing, what I said earlier, you still have to consider it. A woman can't live her entire life by herself. You're here again. I'm leaving, Kuei Qing said. Kuei Qing turned and walked out. Madame Kuei chased after her and said gently, if there's really no other way, you can find a chance to secretly meet with him once or twice. Even if you don't find a man to live with, you can have a child with him. It's fine if it's a son or a daughter. In the future, when you're old, you'll have someone to rely on. You don't have to be alone. Kuei Qing looked at her conservative and gentle sister-in-law in disbelief. Such an impudent and bold idea. Her gentle and virtuous sister-in-law, how could she say it? Madame Kuei blushed and said, why are you looking at me like that? Didn't you force me to the point that I have no other choice? I can't watch you live alone for the rest of your life. Kuei Qing's heart skipped a beat. Thinking of a certain possibility, her face instantly turned red. A few hours later, Yang Dingtian flew back to the northwest continent and landed in Iron Furnace City. At this time, the entire iron furnace city had become a military stronghold. As the easternmost city of the Western world, as the closest city to the central continent, in the upcoming war, Iron Furnace City was very likely to be the first line of defense. In a short 5 days, there were already more than 300,000 soldiers stationed in Iron Furnace City. Countless citizens were building a defensive line along the coastline. Even the Devil Dragon Army and the Devil Eagle Army had fully entered Iron Furnace City. The Iron Furnace City's city lord residence had been completely vacated. Tang Guizhou, Song Lihua, and Mu Lianxing's professional troops had fully entered and taken over all the affairs of Yen City. Furthermore, until now, the entire Yen City citizens weren't very enthusiastic about building a defensive line. A portion of them even had a serious intention of surrendering. Therefore, Tang Guizhou might as well withdraw all the Yen City's citizens to the rear. And these citizens couldn't wait to leave Yen City, where a war was about to erupt. The most loyal and fanatical citizens of Cloud Heaven City were all riding on the Devil Eagle Army and the Devil Dragon Army to head south to Iron Furnace City and frantically build a defensive line. When Qiu Wanjie of the Divine Weapons Manor saw this scene, he instantly felt ashamed. Inside the Yen City's city lord residence, everyone had a grave expression. City Lord, after Zhu Qingzhu left the northwest continent, he flew back to the central region at full speed and ordered the world to convene the Tiando League Conference. This time, it will be held in the central region. Qin Wanchou said, the Tiando League Conference will be held in 3 days. It will undoubtedly be a crusade against the Council of Light. The Tiando League Conference? 3 days later? Yang Dingtian said. Qin Wanchou said, at that time, it might mean the outbreak of a world war. We might not only be attacked by the evil ways, but also all the factions of the Tiando League and even all the factions of the East Continent. Don't worry. A world war won't break out. Yang Dingtian said, as long as we annihilate Zhu Qingzhu's army on the sea and prevent them from seeing any hope of victory or any hope of crossing the vast ocean, they will give up. They might even abandon Zhu Qingzhu and rely on our radiant parliament. Yang Dingtian said, therefore, our strategy hasn't changed. We will completely annihilate Zhu Qingzhu's army on the sea. Qiu Wanjie said pessimistically, but the Cloud Sky Pavilion has already betrayed us. We don't have a strong navy anymore. If we don't have a strong navy, we will build one ourselves. Yang Dingtian said, there is still more than a month before Zhu Qingzhu's army gathers. In this month, we will build an incomparably strong secret navy, one that is enough to annihilate Zhu Qingzhu's army. How is this possible? Qiu Wanjie said. Nothing is impossible. Yang Dingtian said resolutely, Tang Guizhou, I will return to the secret underground arsenal of Cloud Sky City later. I will give you the blueprints. Our secret arsenal will be fully invested in the production of this secret weapon for the next month. Tang Guizhou said. Manor Master Qiu. Yang Dingtian said, regarding crystal power, your divine weapons manor is the most advanced. In this world, only you have created small crystal crossbows. Immediately create all the talents related to crystal power and send them to the underground arsenal of Cloud Sky City to start the production of new weapons. Qiu Wanjie was stunned. He hesitated and said, yes. Yang Dingtian said, also, immediately requisition Fire Island. Send the Demon Eagle Army, Demon Dragon Army, Grandmasters and Grandmasters. He immediately ordered everyone on Raging Flame Island to leave. Divine Weapons Manor, Northwest Qin City, send all the talents in shipbuilding, weapon manufacturing, and crystal power to Fire Island to start the production of new secret weapons. Within half a month, the research must be completed. Within a month, we have to build a few hundred ships. During this time, no one is allowed to leave Fire Island. Yes. Everyone shouted. Qiu Wanjie said hesitantly, but, can your secret weapon really annihilate Zhu Qingzhu's army? It definitely can. Yang Dingtian said, furthermore, it will be easier and more thorough than destroying Qin Chichi's army. That night, Yang Dingtian immediately led his men and headed for Inferno Island. The owner of Fire Island was Ling Wu, who was wearing a red wedding dress and chasing after Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian had saved Ling Zhong's life before. Yang Dingtian directly went to the Ling family to discuss the requisition of the island and the production of the secret killing weapon. In the next 3 days, Yang Dingtian would confirm the design of this secret killing weapon. After that, he would immediately start the research and production work. Because 3 days later, the Tiando League would be held. At that time, Yang Dingtian would leave the Ning clan of the Southern Sea. At that time, it would be time for Yang Dingtian to disguise himself as Ningyu to save Kuei Si and settle Wu Maji. Chapter 525. Daughter, you can't go on like this. Ling Zhong said to Ling Wu, why don't we go to Cloud Heaven City? I'm not going. Ling Wu said. You're already in your 20s. Ling Zhong said. It's not like there aren't people who don't marry for their entire lives. Ling Wu said. Then what exactly are you thinking? Ling Zhong said, why don't I find a son-in-law for you? Or you go to Cloud Heaven City. There are only these 2 paths, nothing else. I won't. Ling Wu said resolutely. You're really trying to anger me to death. Ling Zhong said, what's all this about? Yang Dingtian's status is getting higher and higher. These few days, there are people coming to the island to pay respects to him. Those big shots that I couldn't even see before couldn't wait to kneel down and greet him. If you don't have such feelings for Sect Master Yang, hurry up and get married. Don't be so arrogant. Now, whenever a big shot comes to pay respects to me, I'll tremble. I don't even dare to go to Flame City. At the very most, let's move. Ling Wu said, let's leave Fire Island as a family. Where are we moving to? Ling Zhong said, previously, only 1,000 miles of land in Cloud Heaven City belonged to Yang Dingtian. Now, the entire western region is his. Where can you move to? You've just moved to the central region today. Who knows, the central region might belong to Yang Dingtian tomorrow. Have you moved to the heavens? Humph, now that Zhu Qing from the central region wants to hit him, he's in big trouble. Yet he still wants to occupy the central region? Ling Wu snorted coldly. At this moment, a person suddenly walked in and said, that's right. It's because Zhu Qing wants to hit me that I've come to Fire Island to ask for your help. Hearing this familiar yet unfamiliar voice, Ling Wu's delicate body trembled abruptly. She pinched her thigh ferociously to ascertain that she wasn't dreaming. After which, she looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. How was this possible? How was this possible? How could he appear in her home? He was now the master of the entire western region, hundreds of millions of citizens, and millions of warriors. Why would he come to a small Fire Island? After Ling Zhong was stunned, he immediately knelt down. This humble one greets Sect Master Yang. Yang Dingtian immediately went forward and helped Ling Zhong up. Uncle Ling, you seem to be getting better. Compared to a year ago, you seem much younger, Yang Dingtian said with a smile. It's all thanks to Sect Master's good fortune. Ling Zhong said humbly. Then, he said with a trembling voice, this lowly one did not expect that you would come to my small island at this time. It's really, Yang Dingtian said, Uncle Ling, I won't be pretentious, although I miss you a lot. But she was too busy, so busy that she didn't even have time to hug her son. That's why it's hard for me to have time to visit you. This time, I'm only here to ask Uncle Ling for help. Speak. I will not hesitate to go through fire and water for you. Ling Zhong said excitedly. Then he bowed slightly and said embarrassedly, look at me, I'm just a small character. How can I help you? At this moment, Ling Wu was standing there prettily. Her beautiful face was agitated and complicated. He was even at a loss of what to do. You sit too, Yang Dingtian said. Ling Wu sat down somewhat stiffly. It's like this, Uncle Ling, Yang Dingtian said with a smile. There are people with evil ways in the headquarters of the Tiando League. Therefore, I established another Tiando League and established the Council of Light of the Tiando League, allowing the entire western region to become independent from the Tiando League. Of course, some people in the headquarters of the Tiando League wouldn't do it. For example, the biggest spy of evil ways in our Tiando League, Zhu Qingzhu. He wants to send troops to attack us. Ling Zhong said, as long as Sect Master gives the order, my Inferno Island will fight Zhu Qingzhu of the central region to the ends. Thank you, Uncle Ling, Yang Dingtian said. Ling Wu immediately rolled her eyes at her father. There were only a few people and a few ships in the Inferno Island. Yang Dingtian couldn't even finish using the few million soldiers in his army. So, there was no need for him to specially come to your Inferno Island to recruit soldiers. The Central Region's land is 2 times bigger than ours, but its population is 10 times smaller than ours. Yang Dingtian said, their warrior army is a few times bigger than ours, and their warships are a few times bigger than ours. However, their few million soldiers can't fly over. They have to take ships. Therefore, we don't have to be afraid. I've designed a kind of secret weapon that is specially used to attack their ships. It can make their thousands of ships sink to the bottom of the sea before they can arrive, wiping out their entire army. Yes. Ling Zhong nodded his head vigorously. His eyes lit up as he said, "What kind of secret weapon is this? It's so powerful." Yang Dingtian said, "I only have some impression of this secret weapon in my mind. I'm not very clear about how to make it. Just like those cannons in the Cloud Heaven City, I only have an idea, and they are all made by those people. Therefore, for this secret weapon, I only provided some ideas and a few blueprints. As for the rest, I'll leave it to the professionals. For us to make this kind of secret weapon, we have to choose an island that is absolutely safe and trustworthy. Moreover, we have to have a shipbuilding base. Then I thought of our Fire Island. There's nothing more to say. Take it all." Ling Zhong said excitedly, "It's our fortune that the sect master has taken a fancy to our Fire Island." Yang Dingun said, "We can't take it for free. Firstly, the people on the island are my friends and comrades. Therefore, on the northwest mainland, we'll use 3 times the territory in exchange for this Fire Island. Then, for the islanders on the mainland, each person will be given an average of 20 mu of land and 3 houses. What do you think?" No, this is too heavy. Ling Zhong said, "You're fighting for the entire West region. It's only right for us to contribute. Now, we're the ones taking advantage of you. This won't do. Then it's settled." Yang Dingtian said, "Uncle Ling, you can go and talk to your brothers on the island. Then, there will be a ship coming to pick them up. The relevant land, farmland, houses, monetary subsidies, and food have all been prepared. Once they reach the northwest mainland, they will have it." How can this be good? Ling Zhong said, "This group of people on our island can't survive on the mainland anymore. We ran to this deserted island because we don't have any houses or land." Yang Dingtian smiled at him. Then he said to the outside, "Come in." Immediately, Tang Guizhao led a few hundred civil affairs officers and entered. "Go with Uncle Ling, send money to every house and do some ideological work. Remember, time is everything. Don't bring anything that isn't too important." Yang Dingtian said, "Try to evacuate all the people on the island within 6 hours. Then, the army and professionals will be stationed on Fire Island." "Yes," Tang Guizhao said. Then he led a few hundred people and Ling Zhong to deliver money from house to house. Immediately, only Yang Dingtian and Ling Wu were left in the house. At this moment, Ling Wu was at a loss. "Ling Wu, do you know how to build a ship?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Of course," Ling Wu said. "Then you stay on the island." Yang Dingtian said, "After that, those extremely elite sailors on the island and the craftsmen who build the ship will all stay behind to help." "All right," Ling Wu said. "Do you have a sea map?" Yang Dingtian asked. Ling Wu said, "I'll go get it." Then she ran to get a sea map. This sea map was relatively rough and the various proportions weren't accurate. Fortunately, the various islands in the sea were marked out more clearly. Yang Dingtian pondered and drew the sea map, trying to find a location for the decisive battle. "Ling Wu, are you clear about the hydrology of this sea region, the depth of the seabed, the distribution of reefs, and so on?" Yang Dingtian asked. Ling Wu said, "This sea region is so big. It's definitely impossible to know everything. However, I'm still clear about the sea conditions of those few fixed sea routes." Yang Dingtian said, "Are there many people like you who are familiar with the sea conditions?" "Quite a few," Ling Wu said. After Yang Dingtian responded, he didn't speak again. In the following period of time, the people on Inferno Island boarded the ships one after another and headed towards the northwest continent. There's no point in putting the cannons on the ships. Lingwu said, the recoil of the cannons is extremely strong. Furthermore, the instant of the explosion, the damage to the ship's hull isn't small. There's also the problem of the ship's movement during the instant of the explosion, as well as the problem of carrying weight. Therefore, to board a large ship, it has to be at least 5,000 stones. One stone was 200 kilograms in the primal chaos continent. 5,000 stones was equivalent to 1 million kilograms, which was also 500 tons. Yang Dingtian recorded it in his book. In the future, it might be more appropriate to change the number of stones to tons. Ling Wu continued, I haven't tested it before, but it's merely an estimation. For example, those cannons shipped from Cloud Heaven City, even if they are placed on a 5,000 stones large ship, they can only fit 20 cannons at most. Yang Dingtian said, that's about right. Our current cannons are all 2 zhang long and weigh over 10,000 kilograms. 20 cannons would be 200,000 kilograms. A 5,000 stones large ship would only have a displacement of 1 million kilograms and a carrying capacity of only 500,000 kilograms. Cannons, sailors, and cannonballs. 20 cannons is more or less the limit. Furthermore, we have to consider putting in some small cannons. Qiu Wanjie said, how far can our 10,000 kilogram cannons shoot? About 25 miles. Shimin Lai said, or even further. Immediately, everyone cried out in surprise. Qiu Wanjie said, the giant crystal crossbow can shoot about 25 miles. However, after 10 miles, its lethality would be extremely weak. The effective shooting range for a warship should be about 5 to 6 miles. Any further and it would be able to injure the warship, but it would be very difficult to shoot through it. Shimin Lai said, the effective aiming range for our cannons is also very difficult to exceed 10 miles, or even 5 miles. Especially on the sea, where the ship is very mobile, it would be even more difficult to aim. Song Chunhua said, but in short, compared to the crystal crossbows, our cannons still have a certain advantage. Yang Dingtan asked, how many warships do we have that are more than 5,000 stones large? Song Chunhua said, from the statistics we just received, including the merchant ships and the various sect leaders' boats, we have about 88 ships. The largest ship is more than 25,000 stones. So little? Yang Dingtian said. In other words, if all the ships in the entire western region were added together, there would only be 88 ships with a displacement of more than 500 tons. Song Chunhua said, and the central region would have about 1,000 ships, or even more. Qiu Wanjie said, to us, the bigger the ship, the better. But to the central region, a fast ship would be more advantageous. A fast ship speed would be 2 to 3 times that of a large ship. 2 or 3 giant crystal crossbows would be placed on top of it, and they would quickly approach our large ship. Then they would take turns to fire, and could easily tear our large ship apart. Furthermore, these giant crossbows would have burning crystals on them. Furthermore, the accuracy of the crystal crossbows would far surpass that of the cannons. Finally, Qiu Wanjie said, therefore, when our cannons are on board, they would have a great advantage in terms of killing power and attacking range. But overall, because we have too few large ships, the cannons were placed on board too hastily, and the large ships were slow, etc. Our large cannons would not have any advantage against the enemy's countless crystal crossbow ships. Yang Dingtian could already close his eyes and imagine that scene. The enemy's several thousand small ships quickly surrounded them, and from 3 to 4 miles away, countless giant crystal crossbows would shoot. Yang Dingtian's side, which had more than 1,000 large ships, would not bode well for them. The accuracy of the cannons on the sea was completely different from the accuracy on land. Furthermore, the surface of the sea was too wide, and the enemy's crystal warships were moving at high speed. If they wanted to hit them, it would be completely dependent on luck. The giant crystal crossbows of this world had too much killing power. In terms of bombing and killing, the cannons were of course powerful. But it would be hard to say if they could destroy a wooden ship. The arrows of the giant crystal crossbows ranged from a few dozen to 100 kilograms. They were made of the toughest and sharpest metal, and the arrowheads had all kinds of crystals. For example, if a person was shot, he would at most kill 3 to 5 people, but if he was shot, he would directly tear a huge hole, and seawater would pour in. Therefore, at least in the primal chaos continent, when the cannons were on board, they would not have a great advantage against the giant crystal crossbows. The cannons moved in a curve, and their accuracy was too far away from the crystal crossbows. Even if there is not a great advantage, we still need the cannons on board. Yang Dingtian said, in the following period of time, all the large ships will have their cannons on board. In this 1 month, we must continuously fire live ammunition and strive to achieve the best balance. Do not be afraid of wasting the cannons, and strive to improve the accuracy. Everyone shouted in unison. What other tactics do you have? Tell us. Yang Dingtian said, Demon Vulture Legion, Bomb Air Raid. Kuei Ning said, the giant crystal crossbows will not exceed 10,000 feet in the air. As long as the Demon Vulture Legion does not go below this height, they will not be in danger. Last time, Yang Dingtian had bombed White Cloud City and reaped glorious results. Song Chunhua said, how accurate is the bomb from 10,000 feet down? Very bad. Kuei Ning said honestly. Thinking about it, the Demon Vulture Legion had a heaven-defying aspect compared to the fighter jets, and that was that it could stop in the air and throw the bomb. But even so, to throw the bomb from 3,000 meters up, the accuracy should be extremely touching. There is one more point. If the bomb is thrown from 10,000 feet down, the trajectory will be too straight, and it will be very easy to be hit by the crystal crossbows in the air and directly explode in the air. Qiu Wanjie said, when the time comes, everyone must be mentally prepared. The enemy's crystal crossbows will not be in the thousands, but in the tens of thousands. When the time comes, the crystal crossbows in the air will be like raindrops. It is possible that one cannonball will be targeted by dozens or even hundreds of arrows at the same time. However, it is conceivable that the Demon Vulture Legion can cause a great disturbance to the enemy's fleet and even cause casualties. Qin Wanchou said, we lack a kind of weapon that can win in one move. The best kind is the kind where we can hit the enemy, but the enemy cannot hit us. Yang Dingtian said. Qin Wanchou said, that's good. Let's put the cannons on the ship, and the Demon Vulture Legion's air attack can be used as auxiliary attacks. Yang Dingtian said, if we can create a warship that can sail underwater, it can be achieved. The enemy cannot hit us, but we can hit the enemy's target. Underwater warship? Everyone's eyes lit up. Kuei Ning said, this is indeed possible. The Cloud Sky Pavilion has a type of boat that can sail underwater. That's right. Yang Dingtian had boarded this kind of boat before, and it was when he returned from the cracked Earth City. Kuei Ning said, but this kind of underwater warship is very slow. Also, its size is very small. The Cloud Sky Pavilion created it to secretly monitor the cracked Earth City. Also, it cannot dive very deep, or else the underwater warship will split open. The most important thing is that it has no means of attack. We can't move the cannons to the underwater warship, and the crystal crossbows can't be placed there. Therefore, this type of submarine is completely unsightly and useless. Even the Cloud Sky Pavilion gave up on it. Yang Dingan asked, let me ask you, is it difficult to build it? Kuei Ning said, it's not difficult to build it, but it can't dive too deep. Yang Dingtian said, the Cloud Sky Pavilion submarine can't dive too deep because its design direction is wrong. Its submarine is almost the same as a surface warship, except that it has a roof. This way, the water pressure is very high, and the resistance is very, very high. We need to use a new shooting method. Then, Yang Dingtian took out the blueprint he had drawn and stuck it on the wall. He said, craftsman, if it's a submarine like this, will its resistance to pressure and water resistance be minimized? What was the shape of the submarine that Yang Dingtian had taken out? He knew almost nothing about submarines, but he had seen the general shape of submarines on TV and in games. There were all kinds of submarines, from the shape of 2 meeting ends to the shape of 2 round ends. Especially in the game Earth Empire, there were several generations of submarines. In short, from the early submarines of the 18th century to the submarines of the 21st century, Yang Dingtian had drawn all the submarines that he knew of. These craftsmen were not qualified to speak before, but Yang Dingtian had posted the blueprint. These people immediately exclaimed, "That's right, that's right. Why didn't I think of this?" In this way, the water resistance of this submarine will be minimized, and its speed can be increased by a lot. Qin Wanshou didn't understand these things. He only felt that if they could launch underwater attacks, they could indeed turn the tide of the battle. An outsider asked, "Then how do these submarines sink and float?" Dozens of voices sounded, "Fill it with water and release it." That person immediately smiled embarrassedly. "That's right, there's no need to ask such a simple question." Yang Dingtian said, "There's no problem with the submarine's power. Just use the best crystal to power it. The key is the depth of the submarine and its resistance to pressure. Are there any problems?" Ling Wu said directly, "Blue butterfly gold, do you have it?" When these words came out, everyone exclaimed, "Blue butterfly gold? Was he crazy?" Blue butterfly gold was almost the lightest and extremely tough metal in this world. However, it was extremely expensive. It was even more expensive than gold. Yang Dingtian said, "Zhu Hongxue, Qin Huayu, go to the Sky Devil City after changing your appearance. We have an astronomical amount of devil coins. Buy all the expensive metals." The duo replied. Yang Dingtian said, "Uncle Mu, how much cold light condensed iron do we have in the entire western region? How much blue butterfly gold do we have?" Cold light condensed iron, over 5 million caddies. Blue butterfly gold, 35,000 caddies. Mu Lianqing said. The value of these things was even more than gold. This amount was already very shocking. "Take them all out and build the submarine." Yang Dingtian said, "All those who possess mystic flames are to participate in the construction. Mystic flames melt, mystic flames bombard, mystic flames connect, and mystic flames take shape. It will be mainly made of steel, supplemented by cold light condensed iron, and coated with a layer of blue butterfly gold. I don't believe that this submarine won't be fast enough and can't dive deep." Yang Dingtian said. Qiu Wanjie instantly took in a breath of cold air and said, "This way, the price of one submarine can be used to build dozens of big ships." Yang Dingtian said, "As for the size, we will build 3 submarines first. 2,000 stones for 1,000 stones, 6,000 stones. We will build it in the shortest time possible. After we build it, we will test it in the water." "What about the weapons?" Qiu Wanjie said, "There isn't a single weapon that can board this submarine." "That's right. Cannons couldn't board it. Crystal crossbows couldn't board it either." "There is." Yang Dingtian said straightforwardly. Then, Yang Dingtian took out a blueprint and said, "Dao, this weapon is called a torpedo." Everyone looked at the item on the blueprint in astonishment. It was a long and thick cylindrical object that looked similar to the shape of the submarine. It had a round head and looked silly. "But what was this thing?" Yang Dingtian said, "This is a type of bomb. Each one weighs more than a few hundred caddies. In the water, it can move forward by itself and is also powered by crystals. In the water, it can travel silently and directly hit the enemy's warship before exploding in the water. Just one torpedo is enough to blow up a large warship of the enemy." Instantly, everyone was completely stunned. This is also possible?" Yang Dingtian continued, "Of course, I only know the basics of this torpedo. I don't know anything else. It all depends on your experiments. I don't even know how to make the torpedo continue to move forward without sinking. I don't even know how to launch the torpedo from the submarine." Instantly, everyone was stunned again. At this moment, Zhao Liao suddenly rushed in and whispered in Yang Dingtian's ear, "Sect Master, Master wants you to return to Cloud Sky City immediately. He said there is a change in Shuang Air." Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly changed. Shuang Air has changed? What kind of change did she have? There must have been a huge change. That's why Master Dongfang Minmi asked Zhao Liao to find Yang Dingtian. Instantly, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel anxious. However, his expression didn't change too much. Then he said to the craftsman present, Split up and build the submarine and torpedo at the same time. Keep experimenting. Don't be afraid of spending money. Don't feel bad about these rare materials. No matter the cost. These experts with mystic flames and heart flames, there are more than 10 grandmasters and hundreds of martial honorables. They are all at your disposal. I only want one result, and that is to build these two things in the shortest time possible. The craftsmen shouted excitedly. Their hearts were filled with excitement for these brand new things. They couldn't wait to build them and see what they looked like. Thank you for your hard work. After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, he immediately said to Qin Wanchou and Song Chunhua, I'm going back to Cloud Sky City. I'll leave this place to you. Yes. The two said. Then Yang Dingtian left the basement, rode the Demon Vulture King, and flew towards Cloud Sky City. Note, the first update will be delivered at 7/100. The second update will be delivered later. That's right. Some of you guessed right. It's a submarine and a torpedo. With a crystal energy, mystic flames, and special materials. In the chaotic world, submarines must be strong. Recently, adjusting to work and rest is even more difficult than adjusting to jet lag. When I work, I'm sleepy. When I sleep, I can't sleep. Brothers, monthly votes. Chapter 526. Yang Dingtian rode on the Demon Vulture King and flew towards Cloud Sky City at full speed. Although submarines and torpedoes were very important now, Shuang was perhaps the most important. He was even directly related to the future fate of the entire world. Yang Dingtian was burning with anxiety. The Demon Vulture King seemed to clearly feel his emotions and immediately flew even faster. Black lightning streaked across the sky, and its speed was definitely more than 1,000 miles per hour. Only 4 hours later, Yang Dingtian landed in the sky above Cloud Sky City. Master, Dongfang Minmi, flew into the air to welcome him. Master, what's wrong with Shuang? Yang Dingtian asked. She's gone. Dongfang Minmi said. Gone. Yang Dingtian exclaimed, when did she disappear? It should have been more than a day and a night. Dongfang Minmi said, go to the crypt and take a look. Yang Dingtian came to the entrance of the crypt and immediately felt Ao Shuang's aura. He was pleasantly surprised and said, she seems to be back. Let's go in and take a look. Yang Dingtian. After Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Minmi entered the crypt, he found that there was indeed an Ao Shuang inside, faintly in the water. However, it was fake. It was an ice statue condensed from unfreezing water. However, it looked exactly the same as Ao Shuang. Moreover, the entire crypt was still filled with Ao Shuang's unique aura. Looking at the wall again, there was already a deep hole. It was so deep that the bottom could not be seen, and it led straight to the outside of the mountain. Shuang had gone out from this hole. Dongfang Minmi said, I don't know how she dug this hole. I can't feel any energy fluctuations at all. Although Dongfang Minmi's words were very calm, Yang Dingtian knew how shocking it was inside. Dongfang Minmi, a Grandmaster-level expert, and with extraordinary soul power, he could simply sense every energy aura within a radius of dozens of miles. However, when Ao Shuang dug a hole to escape, he actually didn't notice it at all. From this, it could be seen how astonishing Ao Shuang's cultivation was. Little Tian, when you left this time, how many did you let her count to? Dongfang Minmi asked. This time, we're going to invite the Cloud Sky Pavilion to join the Council of Light. The journey is long and there are too many variables. I don't dare give you a number. Yang Dingtian said, that's why I told her a very, very long story. I thought it would be enough for her to think about for a few days, but something still happened. Before Yang Dingtian went to the Cloud Sky Pavilion, he stayed with Shuang Er for a while and told her the story of the legend of the White Snake. Because time was tight, he spoke very quickly and directly talked about the plot of the flood of Jinshan. He thought that there were dozens of episodes like this in the television dramas back on Earth. Shuang Er must have told herself at least twice, and then acted it out in her mind. Then she would think about it herself. In this way, there shouldn't be a problem for a few days. This time, Yang Dingtian had left for more than 5 days. Unexpectedly, Shuang-er ran away. Yang Dingtian didn't want to use the word run away at all, because she should be free. But because of Yang Dingtian's own reasons, he used his own feelings to trap her in this small cave. Next, Yang Dingtian walked out of the cave that Ao Shuang had dug out. The cave led straight out of the Great Cloud Sky Mountain. After that, there was no trace left on the mountain. There was no trace of the snake. Of course, Ao Shuang could fly, so she didn't need to swim at all. However, this was scary. What if someone saw her flying in the sky? Yang Dingtian flew directly in the air, but he didn't see any traces of Shuang-er passing by. Flying in the air, he searched several times and used his mental strength to search every corner within a radius of 10 miles, but he didn't find anything. Yang Dingtian immediately found the Jiao Liao and asked, "In the past few days, have you heard of any people or seen anything strange?" The Jiao Liao shook her head and said, "No, master." Yang Dingtian nodded and then flew towards Ningning's remote valley. Shuang might miss Bao Bao. "Husband." Yen Yen pounced on him in surprise. Then, she saw Yang Dingtian's anxious expression and immediately said softly, "What's wrong?" "Husband, what happened?" "Baby, have you seen Shuang in the past few days?" Yang Dingtian asked. Bao Bao hadn't seen his father for a long time. He immediately waved his little hands and said in a childish voice, "Papa hug, Papa hug." Yang Dingtian lovingly carried the heavy Bao Bao over and said with a smile, "Bao Bao, let Daddy kiss you." Bao Bao leaned over and Yang Dingtian kissed him fiercely. Bao Bao laughed loudly. "Bao Bao, give Daddy a kiss." Yang Dingtian moved his face closer. Who knew that Bao Bao would directly kiss Yang Dingtian's mouth, kissing Yang Dingtian until his mouth was full of saliva? "It's that vixen Qin Mingli who taught Bao Bao how to kiss." Yen Yen said, "Husband, I haven't seen Shuang-er in a long time. Ever since you took Shuang-er away that day, I haven't seen her again." Yang Dingtian said, "Then when you were with Bao Bao, did you feel anything strange in the past 2 days? Like a gust of wind blowing past, or something else?" "I think so." Yen Yen said, "Last night, I was carrying Bao Bao, Jiao Jiao, Qin Mingli, and Lian. The 4 of us were playing mahjong. Suddenly, Bao Bao pointed outside and shouted, 'Nyang Nyang, Nyang Nyang.' Then I thought Shuang-er had returned, so I quickly carried her out to take a look. In the end, I didn't see anything. It really seemed like a gust of wind blew past." Qin Mingli also said that the air suddenly turned cold. It seemed that Shuang-er had indeed been here. When exactly was it? Yang Dingtian asked. "Using the method you taught me to keep track of time, it should be around 10:30 p.m. I looked at the hourglass at that time because Bao Bao needs to drink milk in a while," Yen Yen said. Then, Yen Yen asked carefully, "Husband Shuang, what happened to Shuang?" She's missing," Yang Dingtian said. How can that be?" Yen Yen said anxiously, Then will she be in danger?" No one in the world can hurt her now," Yang Dingtian said, "but her appearance can't be seen by anyone. Once seen, the whole world, whether it's the Evil Ways or the Tiando League, will do everything they can to capture her." "Then what should we do?" Yen Yen said, "Why did she run away? Was she unhappy?" Yang Dingtian briefly told her about Shuang. The key point was that her temperament had become that of a child. She was extremely pure and temperamental. Moreover, she was extremely loyal and attached to Yang Dingtian. "Shuang-er is so pitiful. She waited for you to come back all the time. She waited for 4 or 5 days, but you didn't come back. She must be worried. Maybe she went to look for you," Yen Yen said. Yang Dingtian was stunned. He had never thought of this possibility, but it was really possible. A child's mind couldn't be used as an adult's. Yang Dingtian remembered that when he was young, he was only 5 or 6 years old. He had never been more than 2 miles away from home alone. Once, his parents went out to do something, and Yang Dingtian arranged to have dinner at his aunt's house. After dinner, Yang Dingtian waited at home from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, but his parents didn't come back. Then he couldn't wait any longer. He was afraid and worried. In the end, he left home alone and kept walking. He walked 7 or 8 miles to find his parents. Even though he didn't even know where his parents were, and he walked in the wrong direction. Later, the more he walked, the more afraid he became, and he walked back. Yang Dingtian once told Shuang that he was going to a very far place in the southeast and it would take a long time for him to come back. So, if Shuang wanted to find him, she could really go east. Good baby, Daddy is going to find Auntie. Yang Dingtian kissed the baby and then handed the baby to Yanyan. Then he flew into the air, mounted the demon vulture king, flew into the air, and kept going east. Then Yang Dingtian remembered. Shuang was just like a child, but she was very smart. He kept saying that he couldn't let others see her, so she would definitely choose a path where no one was. Moreover, she was also very afraid of seeing outsiders. Which path was there? No one. Only the north, the direction of the Poison Strait, had no one. Thus, Yang Dingtian kept flying north and soon arrived at the Poison Strait. Shuang has been here, Yang Dingtian said. That's right. Dongfang Minmi also discovered that there was a miracle of Shuang's snake body on the beach. Of course, the reason why Shuang landed at this time was because of the confusion and anxiety in her heart, and perhaps a little fear. After all, she was just a newborn Naga, and she knew almost nothing about the outside world. Therefore, he wandered on the beach for a long time, afraid. In the end, he still felt that he had to dive into the water. That's right, she dived into the water from here, into the highly poisonous Poison Strait. She remembered that she must not let anyone see her appearance, so she could only swim at the bottom of the water. Although he knew that the water of the Poison Strait would not harm her, Yang Dingtian still felt extremely distressed. He could even feel the fear and helplessness of Ao Shuang at that time. He couldn't let anyone see him, and he had to take the risk to find Yang Dingtian, but he didn't know where Yang Dingtian was. That kind of hesitation, worry, and fear, just like when he was 5 years old, was still fresh in Yang Dingtian's memory. Yang Dingtian flew east along the Poison Strait, flying. After flying for hundreds of miles, he still didn't find Shuang's figure. However, Yang Dingtian was faced with a choice. If he continued to walk along the Poison Strait, then he would go north to the Sky Demon City. And if Shuang was going to find him, then she would go south. He had told her that he would go to a very far place in the southeast, across the vast sea. Therefore, she would definitely go south here. However, the south of here was the land of chaos. Shuang was very afraid of seeing any outsiders, so she would definitely not enter the land of chaos. Moreover, she despised almost everyone except for Yang Dingtian. Therefore, she would definitely not enter the crowd. Moreover, it was night yesterday, so she could fly at high altitude. Also, she must have been looking for the sea. Therefore, if nothing unexpected happened, she would definitely fly in the air, go south, find the sea, and then dive into the sea to swim. Then, Yang Dingtian and his master flew through the air, whistling past. At this time, the land of chaos was just like an ant to him. In fact, developing the fringe and reorganizing the fringe was one of his plans. After flying to a town in the land of chaos, Yang Dingtian directly landed. Immediately, all the wandering cultivators in the town held their breaths. Then, everyone knelt down one after another. Greetings to Sect Master Yang Ding. That's right, Yang Dingtian's reputation in the land of chaos had reached the heavens. Almost everyone had a portrait of Yang Dingtian. He had become the most supreme idol of all the wandering cultivators in the land of chaos. I want all the information from yesterday to tonight, including any strange scenes that anyone saw. I know a specialized organization to collect this. Bring it here. Yang Dingtian said. Yes. Immediately, an old man ran in front of Yang Dingtian, knelt down, and handed over a thick stack of things. Inside, all the affairs of the land of chaos were recorded. If Ao Shuang was seen by someone, it would definitely be recorded. This group of people was called Crow, and they made a living by selling information. Yang Dingtian looked at the old man, felt the mental fluctuations in his mind, and said, I won't give you money. Go to Cloud Heaven City and have them arrange something for you. The old man was so excited that his whole body trembled, kneeling on the ground and sobbing. Immediately, the countless people present looked at that old man with boundless admiration. Yang Dingtan mounted the demon vulture king and soared into the sky. Farewell, sect master. Everyone in the town knelt on the ground, not getting up for a long time. In this thick stack of information, Yang Dingtian didn't see any information about the snake people. However, a few pieces of information caught his attention. It was about the Central Province's forces infiltrating the Land of Chaos. The Land of Chaos was the only place that bordered the Northwest continent. Although the Central Province's main target was the sea, it didn't rule out the possibility of a secret elite force from the Land of Chaos entering the Western world to wreak havoc. It seemed that when he returned, he would immediately give the order to seal off all ships in the Central Province and the Western world seas, any ship. Moreover, he would build several walls at the border between the Land of Chaos and the Western world. Yang Dingtian headed south, all the way south. Soon he returned to the sea. It was simply too difficult to find a single person in this vast ocean. Moreover, Ao Shuang was afraid of seeing people, so she must be sneaking under the sea. Master, you stay in the air, I'll go under the sea, Yang Dingtian said. Okay, Dongfang Minmi said. Then Yang Dingtian controlled the demon vulture king to dive into the sea, moving quickly in the sea. Then he released a powerful energy, searching for any energy aura within a few thousand meters. Tens of li, hundreds of li, thousands of li. This was really like looking for a needle in a haystack. After searching for thousands of li, Yang Dingtian still didn't find any target. This sea was more than 10,000 li, it was too difficult to find Shuang. If Shuang swam directly to the Central Province, then it would be a big problem. Just like this, Yang Dingtian searched for miles and miles. After a while, the demon vulture king came out of the sea to take a breath and then continued to dive into the water. The demon vulture king didn't like water very much. They were not willing to dive into the water unless they had no other choice. What they loved was the sky. But as if it felt the worry and anxiety in Yang Dingtian's heart, it dived into the water again and again. Just like this, Yang Dingtian searched until dawn, searching for more than 1,000 li, but still didn't find anything. He could only pray that Shuang didn't swim to the Central Province. Don't be discovered at sea, otherwise, it would be a disaster. Soon it was noon again, still nothing. Recently, because of the Central Province and the Western world, part of the sea route was blocked. Therefore, the originally busy sea had become very deserted. Moreover, this sea area was still not a fixed route, so there were no ships. At this moment his master's voice suddenly came. Little Tian, there's a ship there, Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian suddenly flew out of the water. Sure enough, there was a ship dozens of miles away. Moreover, this was a gorgeous ship. The owner of the ship must be of noble status. Of course, this wasn't too strange. After all, the order to completely block the entire sea area hadn't been issued yet. But the strange thing was that this gorgeous ship was drifting and spinning aimlessly on the surface of the sea. There was no fixed direction at all, as if no one was driving it. Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Minmi swooped down and quickly approached. Hundreds of meters away, Yang Dingtian couldn't feel any sound on the ship, as if there was no one inside. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Minmi landed directly on the deck. Then they walked into the cabin. In an instant, Yang Dingtian was startled by this. Inside, there were dozens of women. That wasn't all. The most important thing was that these women were naked. This was nothing. The key was that these women were all dead. Moreover, the way they died was extremely terrifying. Their originally moving bodies were directly sucked until only a layer of skin was left. The entire corpse was like a layer of skin wrapped around the skeleton, which made people's hair stand on end. At a glance, dozens of women were like white-skinned ghosts. Moreover, before they died, each of them suffered great fear and great pain. What kind of evil cultivation method was this? Could it suck a woman dry? Yang Dingtian looked at their bodies. There are no traces of being violated or humiliated, Yang Dingtian said. Little to look. Suddenly, Dongfang Minmi said, pointing to the woman's neck. There were 2 holes with blood on them, which had completely solidified. This was nothing. The key was that the blood on it was green. Yes, it was green. Yang Dingtian sniffed lightly. It was the deep-sea Xian poison. Yes, it was the deep-sea Xian poison. Shuang was here. Yes, Shuang was here. These women were all killed by Shuang. All of them were sucked dry by Shuang. Yes, Shuang injected the deep-sea Xian poison into their bodies, and then cultivated all their blood into the deep-sea Xian poison, and then completely sucked them dry. Yang Dingtian's body began to tremble. Then, he desperately suppressed his breath and shouted in a gentle voice, Shuang, Shuang. Suddenly, a shrill and terrible roar came from below the big ship. Then, an incomparably powerful energy shook out. In an instant, the hundreds of tons ship was suddenly lifted hundreds of meters into the air and instantly broke. Then, an incomparably gorgeous and terrifying naga of dozens of meters rushed out of the sky. The world changed color. Dark clouds pressed down, instantly blocking the two suns. The sky above the sea was like the night, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. On the surface of the sea, monstrous waves rose. Note, 5,000 words for the second update, 12,000 words for today's update. Brothers, monthly votes. It's midnight, I should have been sleeping, but I'm incomparably energetic, sob sob. Chapter 527. Why did Zhu Qingzhu send an envoy? Why did the Vulture Palace send an envoy again? However, he had to put these matters aside first. The most important thing was to pay attention to the progress of the submarine and torpedo. Yang Dingtian directly landed on Fire Island and entered the secret underground room. At this moment, the entire underground room was several times bigger than yesterday. It was also divided into several rooms. It was densely packed with many people. The walls were also densely filled with various kinds of drawings. Compared to the drawings Yang Dingtian made yesterday, these drawings were many times more detailed and complicated. After Yang Dingtian entered, he asked, "How's the progress so far?" "The submarine is still being designed and perfected. It will be completed very soon. Once it's completed, the first prototype will be manufactured immediately. The relevant materials have already been prepared. The relevant molds and even the cutting of the materials have been completed," said Ling Wu. "How do you guys solve such a difficult problem of how to launch the torpedo?" Yang Dingtian asked in astonishment. Ling Wu rolled her eyes at him and said, "Is it very difficult? Filling the tube with water and then pushing it out fiercely. Is the torpedo pushed out together with it? The most difficult part is how to activate the crystal at the instant the torpedo is pushed out." "Have you solved it?" asked Yang Dingtian. "Of course," said Ling Wu. "Oh right, will this thing of yours work in the end?" Sure enough, people had to have something to do. Once they had something to do, they would become confident. Some time ago, Ling Wu felt that there was a great disparity between her and Yang Dingtian's status. Not only did she not dare to talk about marrying him, but she also did not dare to talk about it. She even felt inferior in front of Yang Dingtian and did not dare to speak. But now, she even dared to roll her eyes at Yang Dingtian. Would the submarine work or not? In any case, in the history of Earth, submarines were very useless in the first few decades of their birth. Their legs were short, their firepower was small, their stature was small, and so on. It wasn't until World War II that submarines were able to display their greatest combat power. The sneak attack of the German submarines caused huge losses to the Allies. But that was it. The submarines still did not change the German Navy's passive trend. After World War II, nuclear submarines and strategic submarines appeared. This caused the submarine to become extremely heavy, rising to the level of a national weapon. But strategic nuclear submarines are basically used to destroy countries and scare people. Did submarines really change the history of the Navy on Earth? Did it change the outcome of the war? Even in the famous historical naval battles, there were no records of submarines changing the history of the battle and turning defeat into victory. In terms of the role of submarines in war, they were far inferior to the early battleships and the later aircraft carriers. However, Yang Dingtian firmly believed that in the primal chaos continent, these submarines could directly change the outcome of the war and turn defeat into victory. This was because there were anti-submarine weapons on Earth. In the primal chaos continent, there was none. They didn't even have the concept of anti-submarine warfare. On Earth, the early submarines lacked power. Their legs were short, their speed was slow, their materials were ordinary, and their bodies were fragile. In the primal chaos world, Yang Dingtian used the resources of tens of thousands of miles of land, metal materials that far exceeded Earth's, and dozens of experts' mystic flames and heart flames to forge submarines. The size of the submarines made by Yang Dingtian far exceeded the submarines of Earth's early years. Their sturdiness, range, and speed far exceeded that of Earth's. In particular, the Divine Weapons Villa was the one who had the deepest research and application of crystal energy in this world. After all, they made weapons, so it was inevitable that they would climb a little further on the technology tree. What exactly was the power of crystals in this world? It was crystals with powerful energy that formed a crystal array. Once it was activated, it would cause a huge energy backlash. It could push a ship of hundreds of tons or shoot a huge arrow of hundreds of kilograms out for dozens of miles. In fact, if Yang Dingtian made an airplane model out of wood and piled up a crystal energy array on its butt, it could also fly into the sky. However, he really didn't know how to land. Because of the crystal energy, the plane would fall directly. Moreover, with the Demon Eagle Legion, why would he need a bullshit plane? In short, with the powerful materials and the powerful crystal energy source, Li Yao was able to create the crystal energy source. This allowed Yang Dingtian's submarines to possess a huge lethality right from the start. As for the power of torpedoes, it had already been solved in the early years on Earth. There were many kinds of torpedo engines, and all of them were very primitive mechanical power. However, these weren't things that Yang Dingtian would know. However, with the crystal energy, he didn't have to worry about torpedoes at all. They could run away with just a push, and they could run very far away. The only thing he had to worry about was the accuracy. Oh right, what about the torpedoes? Yang Dingtian asked. We've already made more than 10. We're just waiting for you to experiment with them, Lingwu said. Yang Dingtian was startled and said, so fast? This is fast? Lingwu said, just make a big iron pipe and stuff it with gunpowder and crystal impact pieces. After that, install a small crystal energy array on its butt. It's very simple, okay? Let's go and experiment with the torpedoes, Yang Dingtian said. How can we experiment without a submarine? Lingwu said. Just let the Demon Eagle catch it in the air and throw it down, Yang Dingtian said. The northern sea area of Fire Island, within a radius of a few hundred miles, was completely cleared and turned into a top-secret sea area. Kuei Ning was personally conducting the experiment this time. A total of 3 worn-out merchant ships were used as experimental targets. Let's begin, Yang Dingtian ordered. Immediately, Kuei Ning's Demon Eagle, carrying more than 10 torpedoes of different specifications, suddenly flew into the sky. Then, it directly hovered above the sea surface at high speed. Kuei Ning took out a torpedo. This torpedo was completely built according to Yang Dingtian's blueprint. Therefore, it was no different from the torpedoes on Earth. It was just that there was a special crystal energy array behind the torpedo. Release. An order was given. The Demon Eagle hovered in the air. When the target ship was still more than 10 miles away, Kuei Ning activated the crystal energy array and then released the torpedo. In an instant, the crystal energy array behind the torpedo suddenly ejected a red and blue light. This gave Yang Dingtian an illusion that this thing was a missile and not a torpedo. This tempting thought had just arisen slightly before it was shattered. It was impossible to use the crystal energy to build the so-called missile. Missiles were too complicated. Moreover, there was the existence of giant crystal crossbows in this world. Missiles were too easy to destroy. After the torpedo fell into the water, it first sank slightly. Then it immediately drilled out. Then, like a fish, it quickly sprinted forward. Its speed was unexpectedly very fast. It was much faster than Yang Dingtian had imagined. Yang Dingtian made a quick visual estimate. Its speed was more than 100 kilometers. It directly split the waves. A small part of its body was directly exposed above the water surface. It drew a long line of water as it whizzed forward. At the same time, the more than 10 demon eagles in the air used special recording jades to record the entire scene. Yang Dingtian was really stunned. How could the speed be so fast? The torpedo on Earth only reached 100 kilometers per hour in the 20th century and after the 70s. This crystal power was really against the natural order. Almost everyone could see the heaven-defying part of this torpedo. Looking at its fast whistling traces in the water, everyone cheered. But then the cheers became lower and lower. Because the trajectory of the torpedo was getting more and more deviated. In just a few minutes, the torpedo had sprinted to a stop. However, the torpedo directly drilled past the target ship and deviated from the target by a few hundred meters. Yes, it deviated by a few hundred meters. It seemed to be swimming in a straight line, but in the end, it deviated by a full 100 meters. The torpedo that deviated from the target rushed forward for more than 10,000 meters before its energy was exhausted. It stopped and plunged directly into the sea. Immediately, a demon vulture warrior flew up and scooped up the exhausted torpedo. Yang Dingtian knew that the early accuracy of the torpedo on Earth was also very ridiculous. The earliest adjustment tool was the gyroscope in the torpedo. However, how could Yang Dingtian know how to do such a complicated thing? Although the materials and power of this world were awesome, the mechanical aspect was a complete mess and almost zero. This was because this was a fantasy world, not a scientific world. Closer, see what distance it can hit the target, Yang Dingtian said. Then, Kuei Ning experimented again. The second time, the experimental distance was changed to 8 miles, which was about 4 kilometers. The experiment still failed. The torpedo deviated from the target by more than 100 meters. The third time, the experimental distance was 5 miles. The experiment also failed. The torpedo deviated from the target by 80 meters. The fourth time, the experimental distance was 3 miles. The experiment also failed. The torpedo deviated from the target by 30 meters. The fifth time, the experimental distance was 2 miles. The experiment also failed. The torpedo deviated from the target by 13 meters. The sixth time, the experimental distance was 1 mile. The experiment was barely successful. The torpedo grazed the stern of the target ship and then exploded violently. Although the explosion happened at the stern of the ship, the torpedo weighing nearly 100 kilograms still blew the wooden target ship to smithereens. The final result of the experiment was that the attack distance was within 1 mile. It could barely hit the target. Heavens, this distance was too dangerous. After the experiment, everyone present couldn't help but feel dejected. In the basement, Yang Dingtian said, "I have 2 points. First, when the torpedo is attacking, it's best not to expose the surface of the water. It's easy to be discovered and destroyed. Can this be changed in the future?" "It can be changed, but the speed will be slower," a craftsman said. "It doesn't matter if the speed is slower, even if it's slower by half, but it must be hidden," Yang Dingtian said. "Yes, Sect Master," Yang Dingtian said. Then Yang Dingtian said, "The second point is, of course, the problem of accuracy. The accurate attack distance is only 1 mile. It's too short. If our submarine and the enemy's fleet are only at this distance, it's too dangerous. At least, it must be increased to about 5 miles. Suddenly, the craftsmen present were depressed. Yang Dingtian said, "First, why did the torpedo deviate? First, I think it's a problem with the material itself. The material of the torpedo is not uniform. Therefore, I suggest that before the torpedo is filled with gunpowder, it floats on the water. If it's stable and doesn't float unevenly, it will pass. Before the torpedo is filled with gunpowder and crystal, it's a straight iron pipe. It should be in a state of balance." Yang Dingtian said, "Of course, there's a more important reason. Because the seawater itself is not static. With the wind and ocean currents, the seawater is fluid. Therefore, when the torpedo is moving, it will be pushed by the seawater. Therefore, it can't maintain a straight line. I think it's easier to solve this problem. When the torpedo is launched, we can observe the hydrology and wind direction, and then adjust the torpedo's direction according to the relevant data." Everyone nodded. Suddenly, Song Chunhua said, but once the war breaks out, the entire sea will boil, and the hydrology will become extremely chaotic and complicated. Therefore, there's no way to adjust the torpedo before launching. Yes, that's right. When the time comes, the entire sea will explode, and the seawater will be extremely chaotic. At that time, the torpedo will be even more inaccurate. How troublesome! Yang Dingtian frowned and said, actually, there's a thing that can keep the torpedo moving in a straight line. Even if it's affected by external forces, it can be pulled in the opposite direction from the inside. This thing is called a gyroscope. Yang Dingan took a piece of paper and a pen, and then desperately tried to recall. It seemed that the Earth had made the simplest gyroscope a long time ago. Moreover, there were a lot of toy gyroscopes on the market. When he was in college, there were also pictures of a 3-axis gyroscope in physics class. Yang Dingtian had a very, very rough impression of it, but he couldn't remember the specific details. Then, Yang Dingtian drew the most primitive 3-axis gyroscope on the drawing. It was more complicated to draw a submarine torpedo, as it was a 2D drawing. However, a 3-axis gyroscope was a 3D drawing. Yang Dingtian's drawing was even more of a mess. I can only say that I have a general idea of how this thing works. I will write it all down. However, I really don't know how to make it and the specific details, Yang Dingtian said. Moreover, the requirements for this thing are very precise. If there's a slight error, the error will be even bigger if a torpedo is put in. Therefore, I don't need you to make it. You just need to allocate some people to research this thing. It's better if you can make it, but it doesn't matter if you can't. Then, what should we do about the accuracy of the torpedo? Linguist. If there's really no other way, we can only use the most direct and crude method, which is to increase the size and weight of the torpedo. This way, the influence of the water power will be reduced, and the error will also be reduced, Yang Dingtian said. That's right, this is a method. Although it's very stupid, it's direct and effective, Lingwu said. However, if we do that, the submarine will become bigger. That's right, if the torpedo becomes bigger, the submarine will also become bigger. Yang Dingtian fell into deep thought. The result before his eyes could be said to be both happy and sad. The happy thing was that with the crystal stone as the power source, the torpedo and the submarine would no longer be a problem. However, the accuracy of the torpedo would become a huge problem, so much so that it would be very difficult to change. It seemed that he couldn't place all his hopes on the submarine and the torpedo. At least, before the torpedo's accuracy could be improved, he had to think of a second auxiliary method. Yang Dingan asked, in our world, have you seen a kind of thing? It's underground. It's a black viscous liquid with a foul smell. After it's ignited with fire, it can burn. Immediately, everyone shook their heads, indicating that they had never seen it. Yang Dingtian was naturally talking about oil. However, almost everyone present had never heard of it. Yang Dingtian thought of fire attack. If the Demon Vulture Legion threw down the giant incendiary bombs from a height of several thousand meters, the accuracy wouldn't matter, and they wouldn't be afraid of being destroyed. Gasoline could burn when poured on the boat or on the surface of the sea. However, everyone present said that they had never seen oil. Of course, there was also alcohol that could burn. Moreover, this thing could definitely be manufactured. Yang Dingtian mobilized the entire western region to manufacture it. It could be said that he could manufacture as much as he wanted. However, alcohol was soluble in water. Once it fell into the sea, it wouldn't burn. Then, have you seen a kind of oil that is extremely fierce when it burns? It can even melt and burn through iron? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes. Immediately, many people answered, including Ling Wu. Ling Wu, tell us. Yang Dingtian said. Ling Wu said, there's a kind of tree in the Sunset Mountain Range that secretes a kind of oil. The barbarians in the Sunset Mountain Range all use it for illumination. They even use this kind of wood for forging because the temperature of the fire it produces is extremely high. However, most of them directly burn the wood, and no one thought of getting the oil out. Yang Dingtan asked, are there many oil trees like this in the Sunset Mountain Range? There are countless of them throughout the mountains and plains. Ling Wu said, every tree is at least as thick as 3 to 4 people hugging it. Yang Dingtian said, immediately mobilize 100,000 people to enter the Sunset Mountain Range and cut down the oil trees. Cut them into cubes and squeeze out the oil. You must obtain more than 500,000 kilograms of oil or even more within a month. The more the better. Directly expropriate the barbarian villages and even the remaining barbarians. If 100,000 people aren't enough, then 200,000 or 300,000. Uncle Mu Lianqing and Commander Shimin Lai, one civil and one military, will be in charge of this matter. The two of them shouted, Martial Uncle Song Shao, your martial arts are powerful. When you enter the Sunset Mountain Range, you might be able to suppress the barbarians. I'll have to trouble you to follow along. Yang Dingtian said. Song Shao said. Qin Wanshou said from the side, there are many barbarians in the Sunset Mountain Range in our Qin city. They are all high-level martial revered and can enter the Sunset Mountain Range to help suppress the barbarians. Yes, thank you, Martial Uncle Qin. Yang Dingtian said. It was all thanks to Qin Chichi that the hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the Sunset Mountain Range were all buried. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for Yang Dingtian's hundreds of thousands of soldiers to enter the Sunset Mountain Range. They would have to fight a huge battle first. In addition, in order to speed things up, send 3,000 reserve Devil Dragon Army and 1,000 regular Devil Dragon Army into the Sunset Mountain Range to carry out the battle and transportation. Yang Dingtian said. Song Chunhua said. Following Yang Dingtian's orders, hundreds of thousands of people would enter the Sunset Mountain Range in 3 days at the fastest speed. When the time came, the vast primeval forest would be destroyed. Countless barbarian tribes would be expelled. They wouldn't have a place to stay and would even be slaughtered. Yang Dingtian knew that this was very cruel, but he had no other choice. With a single order, hundreds of thousands of people would move out and countless tribes would disappear. Perhaps this was power, the will of a king. 2 hours later, Yang Dingtian landed in the Yen City's city lord's residence. At this time, Zhu Qingzhu's envoys and the Vulture Palace's envoys had been waiting for a few hours. When Yang Dingtian saw the two envoys, he said, Envoys, why do you want to see me? I am Zhu Hongyu, an envoy of the Middle State. I am Vulture Sect's envoy Ling Shi. Yang Dingtian was instantly stunned. It was actually these two people. These two envoys were very important. One was the current young master of the Black Heaven sect, and the other was Wulingzi's great-grandson, Vulture's elder brother. He was the man who wanted to marry the Cloud Sky Pavilion's Yunjunu. Zhu Hongyu had inherited the looks of the Black Heaven sect's successor. He was very handsome. His handsomeness wasn't inferior to Zhu Hongshue's. However, compared to Zhu Hongxue, he was more feminine. He looked more beautiful than a woman. His body was spotless and his clothes were whiter than snow. On the other hand, Ling Shi looked relatively ordinary. However, when he sat next to the handsome Zhu Hongyu, his brilliance wasn't overshadowed at all. In fact, Yang Dingtian's first glance was attracted to Ling Shi. He was like a free wind. Wherever he sat, the entire surroundings seemed to become his domain. It was as if he was sitting there, but it felt like he wasn't there at all. He was somewhere else. Yang Dingnan bowed to the two envoys and said, Greetings, Yang Ding. Then he continued, I'm pressed for time. If you have something to say, just say it. Zhu Hongyu said, Mayor Yang, you should know that there will be a Tiando League meeting in Middle State tomorrow to discuss the matter of the Council of Light. My father specially asked me to invite Mayor Yang Dingtian to Middle State to participate in the Tiando League meeting. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Zhu Qingzhu was inviting him to participate in the Tiando League meeting? What kind of show was this? Chapter 528. After that, Yang Dingtian hesitated. Should he go to Zhongzhou to participate in the Tiando League? If Governor Yang is worried about your safety or freedom, please rest assured. The Vulture Palace and the Sea of Hades will fully guarantee your safety and freedom, Rhinoceros said. Thank you, Yang Dingtian said to Rhinoceros. Young Lord Rhinoceros, is this why you came to the Western region? No, Rhinoceros said. I have a good-for-nothing brother named Lingwu. He drives a boat and wanders around. Recently, he seems to have reached the Western Sea. He used to send out a safety signal every day, but recently, the signal has been cut off. Recently, the Western Sea has been sealed off. I heard that many people have been arrested. Therefore, I would like to ask, did my good-for-nothing younger brother cause any trouble in the Western Sea? Yang Dingtian asked, what are the characteristics of senior brother Lingwu? I'll send someone to investigate immediately. Rhinoceros said, his characteristics are very obvious. First of all, his boat is very big and gorgeous. It's a 2,000-stone flower boat. It should be very rare. Secondly, there are many women on the boat. From the sailors to the sailors, they are all beautiful women. Yang Dingtian knew who this person was. It was the boat that Ao Shuang killed. No wonder the man who was cut into pieces and only his head looked familiar. It was because his eyebrows were similar to the vulture's. No wonder he was so arrogant, saying that he did not put Yang Dingtian in his eyes and wanted to make Yang Dingtian a cuckold. It turned out that he was a direct descendant of the vulture sect. He was indeed noble. It seemed that Shuang had really caused a disaster. She killed a direct descendant of the vulture sect and cut him into pieces. However, Yang Dingtian did not show any surprise on his face. He only frowned slightly, as if he was dissatisfied with Lingwu's wandering in the Western Sea. Men, Yang Dingtian said. Immediately, a martial artist from outside entered. It was Horror Mountain Village's Zhao Mu. He was currently in charge of the city lord's mansion's internal affairs. Secmaster, I'm here. Zhao Mu bowed. Senior brother Zhao, who's in charge of sealing off the sea. Let him in, said Yang Dingtian. It's the Demon Eagle Legion's second staff captain and the Navy's third commander. I'll call them over immediately. Zhao Mu said. Yang Dingtian said to Lingxi, logically speaking, if we detain Lingwu, he should reveal his identity. Therefore, this matter would also be reported to me. Since I didn't receive the report, I shouldn't be on the detainment list. However, in order to ensure that there are no omissions, I have asked the person in charge of this matter to come over and report. Rhinoceros said. He did not say thank you, but only responded with a faint grunt. Then, the room fell into silence. Although Lingxi was like a breeze, she was not good with words. Zhu Hongyu, on the other hand, was just as arrogant as Zhu Hongxue. Moreover, there was a hint of gloominess in her voice, as if she disdained to speak with Yang Dingnan. Speaking of which, Zhu Hongyu's personality was more like Zhu Qingzhu's. Half an hour later, the Demon Eagle Legion's second staff captain and the Navy's third commander, who were in charge of the sea blockade, came in. Greetings, Sect Master. After the two came in, they knelt down on one knee. Well, you've worked hard, Yang Dingtian said. This is young Master Lingxi of the Vulture Sect. I have something to ask you. The two commanders got up and bowed to Lingxi with their swords. She knitted her brows. She had a problem with Yang Dingtian not asking any questions and letting him ask the questions instead. My younger brother, Lingwu, has been traveling on a boat recently. It seems that he is close to the Western Sea. We have lost contact recently. May I ask if you two have seen him? His boat is a 2,000-stone gorgeous flower boat. There are hundreds of beautiful women on it. Except for him, there are only women on the boat. Lingxi asked. Wait a moment. The Navy's third commander flipped through the thick documents one by one, then shook his head and said, No, our detainment list does not have this person or this boat. At this time, the Demon Eagle Legion's second staff captain said, We seem to have seen this boat before. As he spoke, he looked at Yang Dingtian. Well, explain the specific situation to young Master Lingxi. Yang Dingtian said. At that time, it should be 3 days ago. Our Demon Eagle Legion was patrolling the sea. About 4,800 miles away from the northwest continent, we saw a gorgeous flower boat. The second staff captain said, At that time, a young man and a dozen beautiful women were standing on the deck, pointing at the sky and mocking us. We went forward and warned him that anyone who wants to go to the Western Sea must apply in advance. Then he said some nasty words. Because Sect Master did not give the order to fully expel and seal the sea, we only warned him and put him on the blacklist. We did not take any further measures and returned directly. When he said these words, the second staff captain's face was indignant. It was obvious that Ling Wu's words were very unpleasant. After that, did you see his boat again? Ling Si asked. I want to check the patrol records. The second staff captain said, because I am in charge of the special route, I did not see this boat again. The second staff captain checked the thick patrol records. Found it? The second staff captain said, 2 days ago in the afternoon, 1,900 miles away from the northwest continent and 1,800 miles away from the Bedlam lands. The Demon Eagle Legion's 3rd patrol team found this boat. Because he was on the blacklist, they expelled him. After being insulted by the other party, the boat headed towards the Bedlam lands. Because it was not within 1,000 miles of the Western Sea, we could not arrest him. In the end, he was heading towards the Bedlam lands. At that time, the seal did not include the Bedlam lands. It was only today that we added the Bedlam lands. Therefore, we did not monitor or expel the boat. Why not? Ling Si asked. The second staff captain said, because there are many people like him. Recently, merchant ships have disappeared from the sea. Most of them are noble young masters from the central continent who provoke us at sea. Even when war breaks out, they will join in the fun. We do not need to do anything else. In any case, as long as they are within 1,000 miles, we will arrest them. If they resist, we will sink them. Ling Si asked, then you mean to say that he should have gone to the Bedlam lands? We cannot guarantee that. Moreover, this has nothing to do with us. The second staff captain said coldly. Then he faced Yang Dingtian and waited for further orders. Yang Dingtian said, next, the Combat Logistics Committee will issue a new order to seal off the sea, including the Bedlam lands and Fisher City. No ships are allowed to travel within a 5,000-mile radius of the Western world. If there are foreign affairs or official ships, apply for a suspension. Only after the application is approved can they come to the Western world. The two replied, then you can continue with your work. Yang Dingtian said. The two saluted and turned to leave. Ling Si looked at Yang Dingtian and asked, can you help me find Ling Wu? Yang Dingtian said, our patrol will cover 5,000 miles of sea. Therefore, if we find him, we will detain him and inform the Vulture sect. However, if he has already landed in the Bedlam lands, there is nothing we can do. Ling Si nodded and said, however, if we find out that Ling Wu's disappearance is related to the Western world, we will be very angry. The consequences will be very serious. You don't have to threaten me. Yang Dingtian said calmly, you have no so-called neutrality. You have your own path. I do not have any hope for the Vulture sect. I've already mentally prepared myself to be your enemy. Vulture pursed his lips and said, be the Vulture sect's enemy? You think too much. Not everyone has the right to be the Vulture sect's enemy. The arrogance and disdain in his words were obvious. All right. If there is nothing else, I will not entertain the two of you. Yang Dingtian said. Zhu Hongyu and Ling Si stood up and left. Zhu Hongyu suddenly turned and sneered at Yang Dingtian. We welcome your excellency's presence in the central province. If your excellency is too timid to come, the whole world will be disappointed. Inside the Ling residence on Fire Island, the entire Western world's upper echelons were in a heated debate. Should Yang Dingtian attend the Central Province Tiando League Conference? If he went, he would be in danger. He would be imprisoned. If he did not go, it would be a blow to the morale of the entire Western world. Yang Dingtian, you dare to set up the Central Province of the Tiando League? You are the so-called leader of the hidden sect. You don't even have the guts to attend the Tiando League Conference? Yang Dingtian had already revealed his identity as the leader of the hidden sect. If he did not even dare to attend the Tiando League Conference, who would recognize him as the leader of the hidden sect? Previously, Zhu Qingzhu did not invite him because he had a guilty conscience. However, if Yang Dingtian did not attend the conference, it would mean that Yang Dingtian had a guilty conscience. In the end, the entire Western world's upper echelons were divided into two opposing viewpoints. One side wanted to go, while the other side did not want to go. But Yang Dingtian was able to see that a lot of people who said that they didn't want to go had the radiance in their eyes that wanted Yang Dingtian to go. If he did not go, his identity as the leader of the hidden sect would not be legitimate. In the end, the debate did not reach a conclusion. The decision was given to Yang Dingtian. Sect leader, can we talk in private? Qin Wanshou came over and whispered to Yang Dingtian. After entering the small room, Qin Wanshou said, I won't say anything about whether to go to the central province. Nephew already has an answer. However, I have a question. Please speak, Yang Dingtian said. Sect leader Dongfang's status in the Tiando League is second only to sect leader Su Wu. If sect leader Dongfang can appear in the Tiando League conference, it will be a huge blow to Zhu Qingzhu. At that time, the entire central province might stand on our side. Why have you never considered letting sect leader Dongfang appear? Qin Wanshou asked. Master, it's not the time to appear yet. Yang Dingtian said, wait until we defeat Zhu Qingzhu and you appear. That will be the time to settle everything. At that time, the entire central province will turn their backs on Zhu Qingzhu. At that time, the entire Tiando League will be unified again. We will fully prepare for the destruction of the world and prepare for the demon King Wentian's revival. I understand. Qin Wanshou bowed. Sect leaders will is firm and resolute. Wanshou admires you. Yang Dingtian suddenly said, it's really unexpected. Yesterday, Shuang suddenly went berserk. Then she directly evolved more than 10%. She's getting closer and closer to fully transforming into human form. Qin Wanshou immediately said excitedly, congratulations, sect leader. Once Naga transforms into human form, sect leader will have an invincible, undying, and indestructible body. Yang Dingtian smiled. I will head to the central province at midnight today. I'll leave the western region's matters to you for the time being. Yes. Qin Wanshou bowed. Yang Dingtian rode the demon vulture king. He didn't directly return to Cloud Sky City. Instead, he first flew to the primeval forest of the Sunset Mountains. The demon dragon army's 3,000 people had already arrived. They directly drove away a barbarian tribe and started to build a camp and cut down trees. In the next 2 or 3 days, hundreds of thousands of people would continuously enter the Sunset Mountains. Under the protection of dozens of demon dragon warriors, Yang Dingtian entered the barbarian tribe. Although there were no heads or corpses here, the smell of blood was obvious. However, Yang Dingtian didn't care. He didn't even frown. The barbarians and the civilization at the foot of the mountain had been at odds for thousands of years. In recent years, the barbarians had a lot of blood in their hands. If Yang Dingtian had enough time, he would spend time to assimilate and treat them well. But now, there was no time, so he could only use thunderous means. Did entering the Sunset Mountains go smoothly? Yang Dingtian asked. Not too smoothly. Lu Hangxi said, these barbarians are really ruthless. We used money and food to exchange, but after they accepted it, they turned hostile and killed us. There aren't many young and strong barbarians left in the tribe, but those women directly came out with axes to kill. Then clear them out. Yang Dingtian said, the cutting of trees and refining of oil can't be interfered with. Drive out all the barbarians within 1,000 miles of the camp and clean them up. Lu Hangxi said, Sect Master, please come this way. We have already squeezed out the first barrel of oil. So fast? Yang Dingtian was shocked. Then he came to a simple pressing workshop. Here there were huge piles of oil wood. At this time, they had been cut into cubes. Yang Dingtian picked up one. This oil wood was blood red. Looking at it with the naked eye, it was all oil. It was very heavy in his hand. If it was so heavy, it would be troublesome if it was denser than water. Then, Yang Dingtian came in front of the already squeezed kerosene. The squeezed kerosene was, on the contrary, transparent. Yang Dingtian scooped up a spoonful of kerosene and poured it directly on the distant water trough. The sparkling kerosene floated directly on the water surface. Yang Dingtian breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the kerosene's density was lower than water. Then Yang Dingtian moved his finger. Suddenly, a ball of flame floated on the kerosene on the water surface. Boom! The flame suddenly soared to the sky. It gave Yang Dingtian a big fright. With just this amount of kerosene, the flame was actually a few feet high. Moreover, most of these flames were blood red, but the top of the flame was actually a deep blue. Yang Dingtian was 2 or 3 meters away, but he could still feel the rapidly rising temperature. Yang Dingtian took an iron axe and put it directly on the flame. Then, after only a few minutes, the axe began to gradually burn red. And what surprised Yang Dingtian the most was that this kerosene alone burned for nearly 10 minutes. This energy was much more powerful than the gasoline on Earth. Lu Hangxi poured half a spoonful of kerosene on the water surface. Suddenly, the flame fiercely rose again. In just a quarter of an hour, the axe in Yang Dingtian's hand was completely burned red. Then, it began to turn into molten iron little by little, dripping into the water. Looking at the axe that had completely turned into molten iron, Yang Dingtian was astonished and pleasantly surprised. This kerosene was more powerful and terrifying than he had imagined. Its power was actually far more powerful than the gasoline on Earth. It was really too heaven-defying. Yang Dingtian asked, "How much kerosene can be produced from 1 gene of oil wood?" 1 gene, 2 gene, Lu Hangxi said. "So much?" Yang Dingtian didn't dare to believe it. "Yes," Lu Hangxi said. "How heavy is that piece of oil wood?" Yang Dingtian asked. "More than 100,000 gene," Lu Hangxi said. Heavens! This was an incomparably huge amount of wealth hidden in the Sunset Mountains. No one knew about it and no one paid attention to it. In total, how many pieces of oil wood are there? Yang Dingtian asked. Too many to count. 50% of the primeval forest is made of oil wood. This kind of tree is very domineering. Any slightly weaker tree won't be able to survive next to it. Lu Hangxi said, "The forest is just ahead. I'll take you there." Lu Hangxi led Yang Dingtian to the forest. Wow! Yang Dingtian exclaimed again. It was indeed a primeval forest. Every tree was astonishingly huge. Trees that required several people to wrap their arms around were everywhere. Yang Dingtian flew into the air and looked down. The entire forest stretched for thousands of miles, and there were countless huge oil trees. At this time, there were already thousands of demon dragon warriors cutting down the trees. However, the oil trees were too huge, so the way they cut down the trees was also very special. They directly cut down the trees from the top and then brought them back to the camp section by section. Yang Dingtian's order was at least 1 million gene of kerosene. Now, it seemed that it was really easy. One tree could produce 20 to 30,000 gene of kerosene. Yang Dingtian looked at the incomparably huge kerosene trees and couldn't help but sigh. The primeval chaos world might not have oil, but this kind of kerosene tree was better than oil and could grow. In the future, if the primeval chaos world changed its direction to production and construction, at least they wouldn't have to worry about energy. Immediately, Yang Dingtian asked Lu Hangxi, "This kerosene is so amazing. Isn't this oil tree afraid of being set on fire? Once it's set on fire, the entire forest will burn." Lu Hangxi led Yang Dingtian to a piece of oil wood and said, "Sect Master, look. There's a layer of bark outside the oil wood. It's very, very strong and half a foot thick. This layer of bark can't be burned by fire. Moreover, after burning it for half an hour, it's still cool to the touch. This isn't much. Even if you use a knife to cut off this layer of bark and set fire to the oil wood inside, a white liquid will emerge." The bark quickly secreted a white liquid that directly extinguished the fire. That's why this oil tree is not afraid of fire. Yang Dingtian touched this layer of cold and hard bark and sighed in his heart. Nature was really too mysterious. Whether it was Earth's nature or the primeval chaos world's nature, these things were a gift to mankind. "Does this oil wood have seeds?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Yes," Lu Hangxi said. "Pass down the order. For every oil wood that is cut down, 5 will be planted. Moreover, in this forest area, the largest one is to be cut down. This batch of resources must be used sustainably." Yang Dingtian said, "In addition, all the barbarians around this forest are to be cleared. Then, this forest and kerosene will be upgraded to strategic resources. No private person can own them. No private person can come to cut down oil wood. Yes. Lu Hangxi said loudly. For the next month, the kerosene matter will be handed over to you. The more the better. Yang Dingtian said, but you must pay attention to safety. Once the kerosene is squeezed out, it must be sealed in a metal barrel. There must not be any accidents. Ask Mu Lianxing to immediately draw up a safety decree. There must not be any accidents or casualties. Yes. Lu Hangxi said. After some time, I will come and see you again. Yang Dingtian said. Then he rode on the Demon Vulture King and returned to Cloud Heaven City. In the small wooden house, Yang Dingtian continued to tell Shuang stories. He laid on the bed and Shuang also laid on the bed. She nestled in his arms and gently wrapped around his body. This time, Yang Dingtian might have to leave for a long time. Other than going to the Central State Taekwondo League, he might also make a trip to the Southern Seas Ning tribe. Therefore, he hoped that during this period of time, nothing would happen to Shuang. After 6 hours, Yang Dingtian told the story of the legend of the White Snake to Bai Suzhen's Golden Mountain Temple. Shuang was incomparably sweet and satisfied. Husband, what are you touching? When Shuang saw Yang Dingtian touching her finger, she couldn't help but ask curiously. Then she took Yang Dingtian's finger and gently sniffed it. Then, her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. Immediately after, her jade-like hand grabbed. Something that surprised Yang Dingtian happened. The spatial ring, which had been invisible all this time, suddenly revealed itself. Yang Dingtian's interspatial ring had always been invisible. Only Yang Dingtian could touch it. Now, Naga Aoshuang touched it and it revealed itself. Wow, this ring is really beautiful. Can you let me wear it? Shuang said sweetly. Yang Dingtian said. Shuang directly took the ring and put it on her jade-like finger. Then, something that surprised Yang Dingtian even more happened. Shuang directly took out the items in the interspatial ring one by one. God? What was going on? Only Yang Dingtian could take out the items in the interspatial ring. How could Shuang also take them out? Not fun. Not good. Not fun, not good. Shuang took out the secret manuals, weapons, and all kinds of things in the interspatial ring and threw them on the bed one by one. She didn't find anything interesting and then lost interest. Husband, the things in here are not fun. Shuang pouted. Then, her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up as if she had thought of an extremely fun thing. Husband, let's play hide and seek, okay? Aoshuang suddenly said. Then her delicate body suddenly flashed and directly disappeared. Then, the interspatial ring directly fell on his clothes. Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. What the hell is going on? Shuang directly disappeared from his eyes. Then Shuang suddenly appeared again and giggled. Husband, you can't find me, can you guess where I hid? Yang Dingtian's gaze fell on the interspatial ring. This was too heaven-defying. Shuang could actually enter the interspatial ring and come out by herself. Was Naga so heaven-defying? Was there anything that Naga couldn't do? However, the biggest and most troublesome problem in front of him was solved. Yang Dingtian could take Shuang with him. This time, Yang Dingtian could even directly take Naga to the central region to participate in the Taekwondo League. Note: the first update of 6,000 words is delivered. I won't sleep. After eating, I will immediately write the second update. I believe the second update won't be too late. Bosses, today's monthly votes are so few, please help me. Chapter 529. Zhongzhou, Zhongjing City. It was the largest city in Zhongzhou and also the largest city in the entire Primal Chaos continent. Of course, Qin City in Qin Wanshou's plan was even bigger than Zhongjing City. Moreover, the ambitious Qin Wanshou had decided that once he took over the entire northwest and southwest continents, he would change Qin City to Shijing City. Later on, the reappearance of the Temple of Annihilation of Evil Ways almost destroyed all his plans. Therefore, in terms of hatred, Qin Wanshou hated Li Ming the most. Therefore, Zhongjing City was still the largest city in the world. It spanned over 200 miles and had a population of 3 million. Zhongzhou Tiando League was the core city of the entire Zhongzhou. Originally, Zhongjing City and West Continent City were about the same. However, whether it was in terms of prosperity or strategic position, West Continent City was far inferior to Zhongjing City. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. An all-out war between Zhongzhou and the Western world was about to erupt. In the previous battle of Cloud Sky City, Zhongzhou had also gathered an army, but that was only symbolic. From start to end, they had sent out a total of 500,000 to 600,000 soldiers. Moreover, the war had already ended before most of them reached the battlefield. Even when the Battle of Cloud Sky City ended, many of the Zhongzhou expeditionary forces had yet to board the ships and set off. This time, it was completely different. The entire Zhongzhou had carried out the most thorough military mobilization. Every sect, every force, and every city had to send out their most elite troops to the Western world to suppress the traitor Yang Dingtian. The difference between Zhongzhou and the Western world could be clearly seen through the following data. Firstly, there were only 7 Tiando League forces in the Western world: Northwest Qin City, World Society, Sky Phoenix Pavilion, Wooden Sword Castle, Cloud Sky City, Divine Weapons Villa, and White Cloud City. Zhongzhou had a total of 28 forces. In the Western world, there was no one from the 3 sects, 2 from the 9 clans, and 2 from the 27 sects. In Zhongzhou, there was 1 from the 3 sects, 4 from the 9 clans, and 13 from the 27 sects. In the Western world, there were a total of 190,000 registered disciples and over 2 million registered troops. In the Middle State, there were 1.35 million registered disciples and over 10 million registered soldiers. The total territory of the Western world was about 40 to 50 million square kilometers. Zhongzhou, on the other hand, was more than 200 million square kilometers. The Western world had a population of over 100 million. The Central State had a population of over 1 billion. Therefore, the Central Continent's strength was more than 10 times that of the Western world. Then, for the upcoming war. Almost everyone in the Central State had no doubt that Zhu Qingzhu would win. They already had a good understanding of Yang Dingtian's cannons. In the end, the answer they got was that the cannons were not scary at all. They could definitely be broken with the astronomical number of crystal crossbows. Using the giant catapults and the ardent sun crystals, they could also break it. The reason why Qinchichi's army was wiped out was because they were not mentally prepared for the appearance of the cannons. Also, the stupidity of the barbarian army. Although the people of Central Plains had mixed feelings about Yang Dingtian's destruction, they did not doubt it at all. Yang Dingtian was invited by Zhu Qingzhu to participate in the Tiando League in Zhongjing. This news instantly caused an uproar in the Central State. In an instant, countless people rushed to Zhongjing, wanting to see what this Yang Dingtian looked like. Yang Dingtian rode on the Demon Vulture King and set off from the Western world to Zhongjing at night. After more than 10 hours of flying, he arrived at Zhongjing at noon. Aoshuang was currently in Yang Dingtian's space ring. There was only a little more than a cubic meter in the space ring, but Aoshuang could easily hide inside, leaving a lot of space. Although she was 3 meters long, her delicate body was still delicate and exquisite. At first, Aoshuang went in and out of the space ring, completely enjoying herself. Later, after playing a few times, she actually yawned. Then, she told Yang Dingtian that she was sleepy and wanted to go into sleep. Then, she directly went into the space ring and fell asleep sweetly. Yang Dingtian was pleasantly surprised. From the moment Shuang woke up until now, she hadn't been tired for half a minute. She was full of energy from the beginning to the end. Moreover, Duguxiao had also said that she was full of energy for a few months, and then slept for a few months. She didn't expect that after entering the space ring for a while, she would actually feel sleepy. Yang Dingtian was not at ease. When Shuang was sleeping in the space ring, he still felt Shuang's aura and blood flow. In the end, he found that there was nothing wrong with Shuang. She was very healthy. Even when she was sleeping, she could faintly feel a faint energy being released from her evolution. Thus, Yang Dingtian repeatedly told Shuang not to come out unless Yang Dingtian called her. Shuang yawned and obediently agreed. Zhongjing was not a coastal city, but it was surrounded by a large river. When Yang Dingtian's demon vulture king approached the central state, dozens of golden eagle warriors immediately flew over and surrounded Yang Dingtian. It was called protection, but it was actually surveillance. Moreover, these golden condor warriors all had hostile looks in their eyes. Yang Dingtian understood very well. After all, the 30,000 Golden Eagle army was wiped out in Cloud Sky City. For the Eagle Nest, it was a fatal blow. It would take at least a few decades for them to recover the previous size of their air force. Yang Dingtian smiled faintly and didn't care. However, just because he didn't care, it didn't mean that the Demon Vulture King didn't care. Seeing dozens of golden eagles so arrogant, the Demon Vulture King was unhappy. His eyes turned cold and then he roared. His wings, which were dozens of meters long, suddenly spread out and then spun in the air. He was about to use his killer move, Whirlwind Strike. Creak. Suddenly, dozens of golden eagles were scared and quickly fled. They didn't care about surrounding Yang Dingtian and disappeared without a trace. Next, no matter how the Golden Eagle warriors urged, these Golden Eagle warriors were scared out of their wits and didn't dare to approach the Demon Vulture King. The Demon Vulture King's whirlwind strike was over before it even started. Then, he raised his head proudly and looked at the golden eagles around him with disdain. Yang Dingtian stroked his neck and said, "Okay, I know you're powerful and impressive." The Demon Vulture King was even more proud. He suddenly accelerated. Suddenly, there was a burst of air tearing. The Demon Vulture King was like lightning, piercing into the sky. Dozens of golden eagles chased desperately, but they couldn't catch up and were left further and further behind. The Demon Vulture King proudly flew directly to a height of 10,000 meters. This time, dozens of golden eagles couldn't fly that high even if they died. Immediately afterward, the Demon Vulture King whizzed away, flying towards Zhongjing at a speed of more than 1,000 miles per hour. In an instant, dozens of golden eagles couldn't even see the shadow of the Demon Vulture King. The eagle nest was really asking for humiliation. Yang Dingtian landed in front of the city gate of Zhongjing. A total of 3 people came to greet him: Wu Yuming, Vulture, and Zhu Hongyu. Yang Dingtian got down from the Demon Vulture King and gently patted his neck. The Demon Vulture King immediately rose into the air and hovered 1,000 meters above Yang Dingtian's head. Without any greetings, Zhu Hongyu stepped forward and said, "Please. Except for the Western world, all the representatives of the Tiando League forces have arrived at the Tiando League Hall, waiting for Lord Yang." Yang Dingtian nodded and followed Zhu Hongyu into the huge Zhongjing. Yang Dingtian had never been to this city. It wasn't as prosperous as the coastal cities of Zhongzhou, but it was more magnificent and majestic. It was an incomparably huge city with walls as high as mountains. The Bluestone Road was dozens of meters wide, and there were neat and spectacular houses on both sides of the road. The entire city had a strong sense of design. Every bluestone on the road was the same. The sculptures and trees on both sides of the road were symmetrical. Even the houses on both sides of the road were symmetrical. Every 35 houses, there was a tall building. Every 95 houses, there was a castle. Every 35 meters, there was a sentry tower. Although every house could be considered luxurious, the combination of all the elements made the entire city feel very oppressive. The people here felt like they were being watched at all times. In this city, the military machine of the Tiando League was unprecedentedly powerful. On the extremely wide road, there was not a single person. For this Tiando League conference, the entire Zhongjing was spotless. For this Tiando League conference, the entire Zhongjing had been completely under martial law. On all the roads, there were densely packed, fully armed black cavalry troops everywhere. Living here, it was as if one had to be careful even when breathing heavily. Even so, Yang Dingtian still felt that there were countless pairs of eyes staring at him from behind every window and every door. Their eyes were filled with curiosity, suspicion, and even worship. Passion. The Tiando League Hall was in the inner city of Zhongjing. It was a building complex that was even more magnificent than Qin City. The hall was built with huge black stones and was as grand as a mountain. From a few thousand meters away, Yang Dingtian could already see the Tiando League Hall towering in the center of Zhongjing. It was as huge as a mountain. Visually, it was close to 200 meters tall, which was equivalent to a 50-story building on Earth. The area of the hall was far more than tens of thousands of square meters. This hall could even be compared with the castle in the secret realm of the City of Despair. Yang Dingtian had not been to the headquarters of the Zhongzhou Tiando League, but the hall of the headquarters of the Tiando League should not be as huge as the one in Zhongzhou. Soon he arrived in front of the hall. This was an extremely huge square. Yang Dingtian had been to Tiananmen Square before, and it was only a fraction of the size of this Zhongjing Square. According to Yang Dingtian's visual estimation, the length and breadth of this Zhongjing Square were at least 2,000 to 3,000 meters. In other words, the square was close to 10 square kilometers or 10 million square meters. If there was a military parade, this square could accommodate millions of troops. And the Zhongjing Hall was at the center of the square. When Yang Dingtian entered the square, there were tens of thousands of troops around the hall. They were like nails, guarding everywhere. Under the hall, there were a total of 99 snow-white steps. Looking at the Zhongjing Hall up close, he felt like his soul had left his body due to its magnificence. Yang Dingtian knew that the Zhongjing Hall and Zhongjing Square were built by Zhu Qingzhu. It took him 9 years and hundreds of thousands of people to build it. It seemed like Qin Wanchou was not the only ambitious person who wanted to be a king. Mayor Yang, go in. You are the only one inside, Zhu Hongyu said. Wait a minute. Vulture suddenly said, I want to say something to third brother. Zhu Hongyu frowned slightly and took a few steps back. Vulture went forward and said in a low voice, Brother Tian, as long as you say that you will dissolve the Council of Light, the war will not break out, and the western region will be preserved. My husband has already discussed with Zhu Qingzhu. As long as the Council of Light is dissolved, there will be no crusade, no sanctions, and only criticism. Yang Dingtian did not say anything and walked up the steps to the hall. The Tiando League Assembly was not held at the bottom floor of the hall, but at the top floor. A giant door that was more than 10 meters tall opened up to the hall. Inside, there was an incomparably huge hall, with dozens of huge sculptures standing tall. These were the great figures in the history of the Tiando League. Wu Yuming led Yang Dingtian to the magnificent elevator and went straight to the top floor of the Zhongjing Hall. At this time, they were almost 200 meters from the ground. Yang Dingtian stood on the balcony at the top of the hall, overlooking the entire Zhongjing. Brother Yang, you can see further from the top and enjoy the feeling of stepping on the world, but don't forget that the farther you are from the ground, the more dangerous it is. Wu Yuming suddenly said, don't do things that are impossible in the air. There are only the two of us here. Brother Yuming, you don't have to say these words. Yang Dingtian said indifferently, in short, you and I are different. Don't measure my stomach with your heart. Wu Ming sighed softly and said, Brother Yang, your prejudice against me is getting deeper and deeper. Then he went to the door of the Sky Hall and knocked lightly. With a deep sound, the door on the top floor of the Zhongjing Palace slowly opened. Suddenly, a huge amount of energy rushed toward him. A few dozen pairs of eyes shot towards Yang Dingtian like lightning. All the factions of the Tiando League, except for the 7 factions of the Western world, were present. It was Yang Dingtian's first time seeing all the faction leaders of the Tiando League. Almost all the people with the highest authority in the chaotic world were gathered here. In the hall of a few thousand square meters, there were 59 seats, from the lowest to the highest, forming a circle. In the center of the hall, there was a solitary room without a roof, like a criminal's seat in a courtroom. At the highest point in the north of the hall, there were 3 seats representing the 3 factions. However, there was only Zhu Qingzhu in the seats of the 3 factions. The other representatives of the Yinyang school also sat in the circle seat next to him. Wu Yuming sat in the seat opposite of the 3 factions, at the same height as the 3 factions. They were 2 seats representing the Sea of Hades and the Vulture sect. Yang Dingen, go to your seat, Zhu Qingzhu said indifferently. Yang Dingtian looked around, but he could not find the seat of the Cloud Sky City. Suddenly, a grandmaster came to Yang Dingtian's side and pointed at the seat in the center of the hall. "Your seat is there." Yang Dingtian sneered. His seat was in the center of the hall, which looked like a criminal's seat. There was no place for him to sit. In the courts on Earth, this was the place where he would be handcuffed and tried. There were also 2 policemen on the side. "Yang Dingtian, this Tiando League Assembly is to judge you for your crime of dividing the Tiando League. Originally, we did not plan to invite you here. We would have ordered the Tiando League's army to destroy your so-called illegal Council of Light," Zhu Qingzhu said indifferently. "However, we follow the principles of justice and justice. We have to punish you. Today, we asked you to come here to give you a chance to defend yourself. Regarding your division of the Tiando League and the Council of Light, start from the beginning." Yang Dingtian came to the criminal's seat in the center of the hall. He looked up and scanned everyone in the hall. His eyes narrowed. Yang Dingtian said indifferently, "Originally, I did not want to come. Because in the Tiando League Assembly Hall, other than the evil ways, there are only idiots and cowards." When Yang Dingtian said this, everyone's expression changed. Like a storm, it swept through the entire hall. Yang Dingtian did not care about these people's expressions. He said indifferently, "Am I wrong to say that? Who here is the evil ways? Don't you all know? Zhu Qingzhu, you are the best in the evil ways? Everyone should be clear about this, so why did everyone pretend to be ignorant about it? Ning Wuming of the Southern Sea Ning clan, you are the #1 lackey of the Temple of Annihilation. Everyone knows this. Now, you are sitting upright in the Tiando League Assembly Hall. How does it feel to be a monkey?" Instantly, Zhu Qingzhu and Ning Wuming's expressions changed. "And everyone here, did I call you idiots and cowards? Am I wrong?" Yang Dingtian sneered. "You all know that you are sitting in the same hall as the lackeys of the Tiando League Assembly Hall. Yet you are still pretending. Don't you think this is ridiculous? They even prepared a prisoner's cubicle for me so that they could put me on trial. Stop joking around. I am standing here, and you are sitting there. I represent justice, and all of you are sitting in the filth. I am like a crane among chickens, standing out from the filth. It's best that I am your absolute opposite. Everyone here is evil, lackeys, idiots, and cowards. Oh, and there are also some schemers with ulterior motives. Don't waste your time. Don't hold a trial. Even if you don't think this is ridiculous, I do. Even if you don't think this is ridiculous, your ancestors will. Trial? What trial? What kind of bullshit trial is this?" Yang Dingtian suddenly shouted. "If there is a trial, I will be the one to judge you filthy people. Where is your conscience? Where is your justice? Your ancestors are laughing at you from the heavens. Your descendants are crying and cursing you. Each and every one of you is trying to judge me. You are looking at me like lightning. Don't be so ridiculous. Even if you have any sense of shame, you will not dare to look me in the eye." "Who will look me in the eye? Who will dare to look me in the eye? If your ancestors know that you are so shameless and cowardly, they will kill you from the heavens. Trial? I'll judge you. I'll judge your mother. I'll judge your mother's bitches. Stop talking nonsense. Zhu Qingzhu. Don't be pretentious, everyone. Let's talk after the battle. If you want to act, you can continue. I will not accompany you. Zhu Qingzhu, get ready. Let's fight." After that, Yang Dingtian pointed his middle finger at Zhu Qingzhu. Then he turned around and left. "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.